What's up and welcome back to KindaFunny's Ghostbusters in Review. That's right, we are ranking and reviewing every Ghostbusters movie. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by the biggest Ghostbusters fan I know, Greg Miller.
Ghostbusters fan, you
I
know.
fucked it up. You know what I mean?
No,
you
it's
didn't just
fine.
let it go.
You know,
just let it slide.
No. Nobody lets anything slide around here. It's how we get better. All right.
See, here's where I messed up though. Is I was trying to call. I was like, what the fuck do they call Ghostbusters fans? And I started thinking about it. Ghost heads. Okay, cool. That's what it was.
It's a terrible name. I hate it.
Yeah, it's real bad. Well, the biggest ghost head I know, Greg Miller.
Earlier today, I called Amazon Luna Amazon Lunar, and let me tell you, the chat just came for me. All right, there was nothing left of me for putting. God forbid I fuck up and say Lunar. They tore me alive. They were underneath my fingernails, Tim.
We are also joined by the big dog, Kevin Coelho. A lot of silence that time.
Kevin.
Slimer Kevin.
Oh my
I didn't
god!
expect him to be so big. I didn't expect. I thought he was gonna be a lot smaller.
It was perfect. Slimer Kevin.
Kevin, it looks like if you were on an old $100 bill or something.
Yeah.
Scum, Kevin.
Kevin, thank you for this. Thank you for this.
Look at him. He's floating around.
Of course, we have the producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Tim, that stuff got everywhere in every crack.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make any difference if I told you it came from the front?
It's a queef joke,
This
guys.
movie.
They made a queef joke.
Let's talk about it. Let's
We
go.
have the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez, as well.
First time watching this movie. Really excited to talk about it. Good time.
Really
Great
excited to talk about it. Today, of course, we're talking about Ghostbusters, aka Ghostbusters 2016, aka Ghostbusters Answer the Call, which they put on some of the Blu-ray things and stuff to differentiate it from the original Ghostbusters. It had a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes. It was released on July 15th, 2016, and it was directed by Paul Feig, an American actor and filmmaker best known for directing films starring frequent collaborator Melissa McCarthy, including Bridesmaids, The Heat. There we go, Nick. The Heat. Spy and Ghostbusters. He also created the comedy series Freaks and Geeks. As an actor, he's best known for playing Tim the Camp Counselor in Heavyweights. Never forget. He was also a character in The Jackie Thomas Show and Mr. Eugene Poole on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So yeah, this man has lived. He also in this movie was the voice of the Ghost Jumpers narrator and the voice on the other end of the walkie-talkie that tells Rowan to go clean the bathrooms. He appears to reference the original Ghostbusters, referring to a plumbing problem as biblically bad. So there you go, Greg.
Well, that's
getting some callbacks.
Well, I mean, wherever you want to start dissecting the problems with this movie, keep in mind there's many key phrases pulled from this. Mass hysteria, biblical. There's all sorts of things pulled in here to remind you that you are watching a Ghostbusters reboot.
You very, very much are. It had a budget of $144 million and a box office of $229 million worldwide. Because of its combined production, marketing, and other costs, it became a box office bomb with losses of over $70 million. And it easily passes the Bechdel test. So there you go. Andy Cortez, I want to start with you. What'd you think?
Not as bad as everybody made it out to be. Again, I'm not a Ghostbusters fan, so I'm not super overly offended by what people probably think are like, oh, what a travesty. What have they done to Ghostbusters? Still not a good movie. It's so close to being like okay though. And that's the thing that kind of bums me out about it. There's so much missed potential. There's, I think, a decent amount of jokes that do hit, and there's humor that does work. And I go, oh, that's a clever joke. Do more of that. And there's plenty more. It's like, we could have taken this back to the drawing table. We could have workshopped this out a bit more. And I think the humor fails like 70% of the time and succeeds about 30. Go ahead, Nick.
Andy, aren't you just glad that you work with a group of people that when someone makes a joke, don't feel like they have to keep the joke going and beat it into the ground? Like,
oh yeah, I love it. I love it. Cool? Yeah, I love just being able to say something and then like that be it, you know. That's a joke about Nick.
I want to say something on top of
Oh
that.
no,
I can't think of anything.
it's never been more apt. As soon as Nick's hand went up, I'm like, this is like supposed to be each one of our monologues about how we think of this film. How are you already interjecting?
Nick
I-
Scarpino.
Done
Yeah,
900
do you have more?
episodes of this show. You know how it starts.
And-
That's about all I feel. I think Chris Hemsworth's character, it was just like such a missed opportunity because the first 5 minutes of it, 5 to 10 minutes of it, I thought were like really entertaining and, in my opinion, genuinely good. Like there's good writing and funny moments, and then it is just fumbled for the rest of it. It's like, just stop doing this. We get it. Stop. This movie just has a lot of me doing that. Stop. It was fine. You don't have to keep on doing this shit. I did kind of get a little bit of goose pimples when they are in the theater and they have that sweeping shot where they're all aiming at the ghost, and I was like, man, if this movie ruled, that moment right there would be like thought of as a fucking kick-ass moment. And for me, somebody who doesn't have that the fandom in my coursing through my veins that Greg Miller does for the Ghostbusters franchise, for me it was like, that's still pretty neat. I'll point that out and say that's pretty cool. Paul Feig, Kevin Feig,
Nailed
Kevin
it.
Feige?
Nailed it.
Paul Feig.
Paul Feig.
Nick Scarpino.
Yeah, this movie unfortunately just doesn't work on any level, and I'm not quite sure what they were going for here. And it pains me to say this, by the way, because I love what they achieved with Bridesmaids. I'm just kind of taken aback at what their approach tonally was for this movie, because it's very slapsticky and it's very zany, and it needed to be what Bridesmaids was and what the original Ghostbusters was, which was grounded in reality. And when you watch Bridesmaids or you watch the first Ghostbusters, let's just take Bridesmaids for instance, right? It is a story that's kind of a darker tale about someone who's really in a bad spot in her life and can't figure out how to get out of it, and her friends help bring her out of it, and Melissa McCarthy helps bring her out of it. You take that vibe, that serious tone, and you put what I would say is the AAA talent of Melissa McCarthy and the rest of the gang here, who are some of the best comedic actors on the freaking planet. You put them together and you let them go crazy with improv, and you cut that down to like a fine, sharp blade, and you get Bridesmaids, right? What we have here is Closer to the Heat, which is a movie that's not taken seriously at all, has no stakes whatsoever, and anything can happen in. And I love The Heat, but that's not what I look for when I look for a Ghostbusters movie. I want it to be scary, and I want, when those legitimate scares happen, to not have the camera pan over and have Kate McKinnon completely ruin the tension of that scene by eating Pringles, which she does every single time. It's almost like they're like, guys, this is getting too serious right now and too scary and maybe a little bit too interesting. Let's have Kate McKinnon just come in and put a wig on. Why don't we just do that, right?
She couldn't stop though, Nick.
Oh my God.
Once you pop.
They're so, I mean, granted,
Kate
to
McKinnon's
Kate's
character
point,
was very
she calls him a
frustrating.
parabola or a parabola, and I thought that was hilarious. But then there's like 15 other jokes on top of that, and you're like, this is just a perfect example of like excess. There's too much improv, too much of everything, too much. I mean, I'm saying this as a person who absolutely, I would kill 2 to 3 of you just to hang out with Chris Hemsworth for a hot second. Too much Chris Hemsworth in this movie,
Yeah.
by far. Not enough
I-
plot, not enough serious tone.
I do want to piggyback off that real quick. Like, Kate McKinnon's character was such a mess, and it really felt like there were 5 different inspirations from 5 different directors as to what the character should be, and there was no comedic I'm trying to think of the word. There was just no
Through line.
there was no through line with her. Everything felt all over the place. It's like, I don't know if you're trying to be the zany, crazy character. Right here, you're being really deadpan, and like, that's actually a funny line you just said. That's really good. Do more of that. And the next one, she's like singing in weird ways. It's like, what are you? What are you in this role? You know what I mean? It was very frustrating.
And more to that point, does she feel like she's in the same movie as everyone? This is the other problem, is that every character feels like they're in a different movie, including Andy Garcia and the mayor character, who, if you remember why that worked so well in the original Ghostbusters, because they were normal. And they were like, you guys are crazy. There's no such thing as ghosts. But then we get to that scene, and it's like, talk about a big slap in the face for your characters. They go, we are paranormal researchers and like scientists. And Andy Garcia, and I forget her name, Cicely, his assistants, she's like, oh, we know. We've been researching these. We're well aware that this is happening. And at that point, I'm like, well, then why the hell am I watching this movie? What if these heroes aren't capable of doing something that no one else is capable of doing in this? Then it's not as interesting. Like in the original Ghostbusters, everyone thought they were crazy. The mayor thought he thought he was like, oh my god, these guys are, and then they lock him up and they put him in an insane asylum in the second one. And it just turns out that the Ghostbusters is the only people who can take care of this. But in this one, they're like, no, we got a whole team of people in the military that can take care of this stuff. They're just idiots. It's like, what the hell?
Evan Coelho, what'd you think?
I hate this movie. Like I honestly, I don't think I laughed at all, because it's like anytime they do deliver something that's funny, like the parabola joke about the chip, which is funny, it's ruined by them having that joke. Just it totally doesn't fit the tone. I don't remember disliking this movie as much as I did rewatching it this time. But yeah, I mean, none of the comedy hits where it needs to. I feel like the story is just kind of everywhere and not like good. All the cameos that we got were just kind of sucked. Like none of them. I was at no point
You didn't like
did this
this Bill
movie
Murray
make
wearing
me,
a weird fedora and a cane,
and then
cameo?
getting
You
killed,
didn't like that?
and then he dies, right?
They
Did I-
murder him.
Yeah, well, they
someone
don't murder him. The
dies.
ghost do. So I don't know. It's just overall what a bummer. I really like this cast. Kate McKinnon might be one of my favorite like comedic actors just ever, and I can't believe like they couldn't put together any jokes in my opinion that like were solid and hit hard, and it's just like it seems like they were all given 100%, you know, but like someone was like, it'd be really funny if you order a wonton soup and there's only one wonton in it, and then
Hilarious, right?
they kept going.
But that's the thing, Kev. Like, so in my opinion, like,
Wong Tong. I can't move
Move
past you
past
saying
it.
Wong Tong, Kevin.
All right.
It's a
Sorry,
wonton.
Tim,
I
that's-
know.
That is a good interjection. But that's the thing too. Is like that's the shame of this whole thing. If you didn't call it Ghostbusters, if this was just a movie with these characters like doing shenanigans around New York, I almost think my perspective on it would be different. I don't know that I would laugh as much, but I think that it just fundamentally was misdirected.
Nick, this is not meant in any way to offend you. All right, so please don't take offense to this. There were many jokes I was like, I bet Nick loves that joke, like because they remind me of like the Heat style type jokes
Nick,
that like
yeah,
in the context
I don't
of
want
the
to
Heat,
offend you
where they're
either.
going for slapstick, Andy, I don't take any offense to that. Again, when was the last time I watched The Heat? 3 days ago on Saturday,
Jesus
and then I
fucking
finished it on
Christ.
Sunday, and I watched it with commercials. I love the dynamic of Melissa McCarthy being that crazy out there improv person. Love that. I just want it in a movie where that's not important. that doesn't need to be taken seriously. And unfortunately, this one I think did.
Timothy
Yeah,
Geddes.
I definitely do not think that this is a bad movie. I don't think it's a good movie. I definitely don't think it's a great movie, but I think that it is shit on way too much. I'm a little closer to Andy there. Disagree with him in some other ways where I really like Kate McKinnon. I think she is one of the funnier elements of this movie. I do agree that the Chris Hemsworth character, while providing the funniest laughs in the movie, also provides way too much nothing and way too much just kind of space. There's so much that can be cut. There's so much that was, I would say, done wrong with this in terms of how they set it up. But like, I disagree with Nick where like I think that this is as good as Bridesmaids. I think this is as good as any and as funny at least as any of the Paul Feig projects I've ever seen. And that's just to say I guess I'm not that big of a Paul Feig fan to begin with. But
Wait, is it
there are a
Feig or
couple-
Feig? I thought we were Feig at the beginning of the
It's
show.
a fig. I thought it was fig.
Makuga said it was
I
Feig.
thought
and
it
he
was-
says
I
he
think it's
knows
Feig.
now.
Feig, whatever. I think it's Feig. Yes, that's what it was. I looked it up before the show.
And that's you started the show saying that, and I was like, good. I don't know
yeah.
either. And then you
Someone-
switched it. I was like, wait a
Someone
second.
made the Kevin Feige
Kevin
thing and it got
Feige,
stuck in my
Paul
head.
Feig.
That
Yeah.
was me. That's my fault. My fault.
Regardless, though, it's like there's a couple jokes in this like straight up made me laugh out loud. Like Chris Hemsworth drawing the logo and it having boobs fucking broke me.
Like, you can
That
see the
whole
problem
logo
here, right?
thing
Is the boobs,
of
I
him-
can make them bigger.
Yeah, like that was hilarious. Him, like every single time he turned the page, like the joke of the next page was like so fucking funny, and I appreciated like them committing to that type of thing. There was other things like Kristen Wiig outside of the glass windows. She's like, oh, she thinks that's the sliding door. Oh, she thinks they're all sliding doors. Like that shit's fucking funny to me. Just period. It's like that's good comedy in a comedy movie. And there's just a lot of other shit that just didn't work, and there was a lot of stuff that didn't work that they doubled down, then tripled down, then quadrupled down, then eventually there's a dance scene, and it's just like, what the fuck is actually happening?
Dance
here?
scenes are never good, Tim.
Yeah, I mean that's
I'm
just
gonna. You just have to say it right
in
now.
a comedy movie.
Dance
Don't do
scenes trying to be funny never work. We got like that shit. Just stop, please.
Yeah. But I think to be positive about certain elements of this movie, I think the visuals are fantastic and extremely unique. And I think the VFX in particular are kind of a standout. And the use of color, the use of particle effects and all that are like, it's really top grade stuff. And I'm not saying that every ghost design is perfect, but I do think that this is actually an achievement in visual effects in a lot of ways. And their use of breaking the letterbox and all that, I've never seen that in a movie. And I thought it was actually really cool the way they did it, where this isn't what people are fans of Ghostbusters are wanting or expecting from a Ghostbusters movie. But it definitely does feel like what an audience that grew up knowing Ghostbusters was a thing people cared about, but not actually into it, thinking like it is more action based, thinking like Andy, what you're talking about the theater scene of when they all are fighting together, where like in another movie, in another IP, that could have been fucking really, really cool. I mean, don't even get me started about like the final fight where they're fighting all the ghosts and they're doing all their individual things. We get Kate McKinnon with the two things, the Ghostbusters orchestral theme starts kicking in. She says, let's go, and starts kicking ass with plasma whips. I was all about that. Fucking loved that. It doesn't fit this movie. It doesn't fit this Ghostbusters movie at all. Yeah. So, and then that is the unfortunate thing, is there's moments I think that really work. And I do think that at the end of the day, the cast is really, really good. I think the comedy works, like Andy said, 30% of the time, 70% not. But I think that 30% is actually really funny. And on top of that, there's a lot of cool elements, a lot of good VFX, a lot of cool kind of just decisions made. And at the end of the day, I'd rather watch this than Ghostbusters 2 for sure again. And debatably, Ghostbusters 1. But that's not saying that Ghostbusters 1 is not a better movie. It undeniably is. And I think that Ghostbusters 1, to me, is as good as it is because it's so unique and it's something so damn different. This movie is not unique. This movie is not different. This movie is just a modern action comedy movie. But it has a Ghostbusters wrapping, and I think to an extent they did a decent job with it. And I did think they pushed VFX in a way that makes it stand out as special. But I can't wait to hear what one Greg Miller has to say about
Hello,
Ghostbusters.
Timothy Geddes. How are you today?
Good.
This is my second time seeing Ghostbusters 2016. I saw it the first time in theaters and didn't like it and never went back. And so where I want to start with my part of this review is this. Like, this is a heartbreaker, and not at all because I have a jumpsuit, a bunch of jumpsuits, my childhood jumpsuit, my childhood proton packs, not as a Ghostbuster fan, as a fan of these people. Like, this is a movie where I agree. I think it was Kevin, maybe it was Nick, I'm sorry. Everyone tried in this movie. Like, they tried. Like, I think it's a heartbreaker that it doesn't come together. I think all four of these female leads are hilarious. I love them. The guy who Benny, the guy who's the Chinese food delivery guy, I've seen him in other stuff. He's hilarious. Paul Feig, I've seen stuff that he's Deadpool, right? Yeah, right. I talked about this probably in the initial review, or at least in the run up to the release of this movie, right? Of like, Paul Feig gets it. He understood what he was doing and what he was working with Ghostbusters, and he tried. Like, I'll never forget the moment. Like, he won me over in terms of like, oh, this guy isn't just some guy. He understands he's dealing with something. And it was when they put out the first looks of the leads, and they put out the proton packs, and they were like, I forget if it was Entertainment Weekly or a poster or whatever. And somebody tweeted him, just a random person was like, man, it'd be awesome if you'd ever be able to share a little bit more. We'd love to start cosplaying. And he just shared full on diagrams, like the unreleased documents of like, oh, here's what the proton packs look like, and here's how you should build it. And here's what, like, he was given, I would say, inarguably, like, this insurmountable task of cool reboot. And again, like, let's just check all fandoms at the door or whatever. Reboot what many people consider the best comedy of all time. Reboot this thing that people love, like they love for better or worse, with blinders on, whatever you want to call it, right? And I don't know what happened internally and behind the scenes with Sony, with him, with the people they're working on, but it's this movie that's caught not committing to anything, and that's why it fails. And I think it fails because it just doesn't have a vision for what it actually wants to be. For me, when I'm watching this last night and I'm going through it and thinking again and trying to be critical for in review stuff, right? What Nick was talking about of like there being no stakes and what is going on and blah, blah. For me, it's weird to have all these people who come in knowing what Ghostbusters is, knowing they want to try to crush it, knowing they want to do something different with it, right? But never being able to get out of that middle part. And I think it leads to a movie that has no heart to it. And what I mean by that, right, is I think if you were to look at a spectrum, right, of different movies, and if you want to put Ghostbusters, the original one, on whatever serious, grounded side you want to put on it, the other one I would put on the far side of it is Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's another Kristen Wiig led joint. It came out during COVID, or I think it did. I saw it during COVID on one of the things, right? And in the center would be Ghostbusters 2016, which is trying to think it's still grounded, but also kind of being weird, but not going all the way weird. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. I was in hysterics the entire time watching.
Damn, I knew it was gonna be funny.
For me,
you need to watch it. It is
Damn,
so
I'm gonna
you.
watch that tonight.
Barb and Star for me is I haven't had a reaction watching a movie like that and realizing as you watch it what it actually is since I had to watching Wet Hot American Summer, where I was like, oh my God, it just keeps getting crazier. And not only does it keep getting crazier, they are committed to it being that crazy and that thing, and that this is the fucking world. You're in or you're out. This is what's happening and where we're going with it. And you don't get that in Ghostbusters 2016, and that's why it fails. It is this idea that I laughed last night at a bunch of different lines in this movie. Like there are funny things in this because there are funny people making this project and making this movie. It just isn't cohesive, right? It's exactly what you're saying, where like the mayor bit with Andy Garcia is so weird and so forced and so like I feel like you can almost reach back and have it be in some room and being like, well, what is Ghostbusters? Well, it's proton packs and it's jumpsuits. It's the firehouse. It's them having to talk to the mayor and get, they don't believe him and yada, yada, yada. And like this escalation of it all. And so like Andy Garcia is this really weird thing that like the whole time you're like, I don't get it. I don't want, but like, do I fucking laugh when she's like, don't be like the mayor in Jaws? And he goes, don't compare me to the mayor in Jaws ever. And he gets all mad about it because like you can see that for his character of the mayor, that's actually something, but that's like such a non-reality thing to happen of why that would go that way, right? And that's where the thing is. And I was watching again with Jen last night, and we think it was her first time seeing it. She hadn't obviously moved here yet when we were watching this the first time. And it was this thing of, when when the guy from Silicon Valley is hanging off the scene screaming no, 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 and you get the Ghostbusters logo, I remember being in the theater and that happening and being like, fuck, that was good. Like I liked that. I liked that entire opening, right? Like I thought that was funny. Tim, what you're talking about, like the color palette differential here, how bright everything is. I think, when we get the first ghost coming out of the basement of the Aldrich museum or whatever, when we get the electrocuted subway ghost, I'm like, damn, these ghosts look good and they look different. And like, this is a cool effect. And like, it had that going, but it just keeps going into this way of like, what are we doing? What is the world? What are the characters' relationships? What are the and it's weird to have be watching it last night. And I when we started Ghostbusters in review, I went and ordered all the 4K Blu-rays. I'm like, well, if I'm going to become, we're doing this, might as well upgrade the collection because I only had the Blu-rays at this point. And so this is my first. I got the 2016 one, but by accident I got an international one. I was like, whatever. And so I was watching the movie last night, and I was like, is this an international cut? Like I forgot so much of that movie, and I was like, that's weird. Like, and then to wake up today and be like, I've forgotten it all over again because it's just a forgetful movie.
No, Greg. This is something I found out. The home release is different than theatrical.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's the entire plot line of the male character that Kristen Wiig's with.
Yeah, thank you. The dude from fucking theater. Weeds. I was like, I don't remember the Weeds dude being in this movie.
He's not in the theater version.
The version that I watched, I remember I saw a version with him in it. And then I was like, wait, didn't you have a whole character where the guy's like, why are you getting fired or whatever like that? Or like at the university, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see that in the one I watched last night. That's hilarious. That's funny. Thank God. That would have made it longer.
No. Like from my understanding, there is only one home release version.
When I went to the
theater one, is the only one different.
I rented it on the Xbox store, on the Microsoft store, and there was the extended cut, and I was like, I'll just get the regular one. I'm sure it'll be fine. And so I have no idea what the hell you all are talking about.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know
why
what you guys are
Good.
talking about at all either.
There's
I
added
definitely
scenes
saw
where
in
she has
theaters.
kind of a love interest at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah. I won't lie, I'm cheating on this one since again I find this movie so horribly forgetful. But yeah, I rented it on Amazon to talk about it,
I
and
did too.
we jump right from the guy I was talking about, the scene I liked being scared, to her in the big lecture hall. And there's a whole scene inserted in between there where she gets the news she's going to be in the big lecture hall. She goes to this dinner and talks to some woman she wants to impress for 10 years, and then her boyfriend's there, but he's not really her boyfriend. He's playing it loose and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't get any of those scenes. So.
you didn't miss
Crazy,
it.
thank God, because this
No,
movie
missed
by the way, did
more.
not need to be
I mean,
2
I
hours long.
saw him at one point because I saw it in theaters.
It really seems like one of the overall problems with this whole movie is I'm just trying to think of like an old franchise from the 80s, similar to Ghostbusters, that has sort of this cult-like following, and it was really, really popular, and it's got comedic elements. And in a modern day saying, or even like in the late 2000s, just throw John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell at it and just have them do improv. I'm sure everything will be okay. And like so much of this,
And you get Holmes
so-
and Watson.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right,
and
right, right.
and so many of the scenes in this are not made better by letting them improv. And
No, what you have.
this needs to be more of a crafted kind of experience. And there's several moments where something happens and they start arguing. Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy, and they start kind of having this little back and forth. It's like, this is not working right now. We can't be doing this all the time. We can't rely on this.
And it's like oh, sorry, Kevin, is my mic low? I don't
No.
think so. Check. Is that me? Fairly loud. It's like an all-star game, Andy, where you're like, it's going to be entertaining, but then it's not as good as that team that gelled the whole season and then goes and plays that championship game, right? I think they just relied on these amazing all-stars to make magic on the screen, and I think it was just misdirection. I think they just didn't have a good direction for where they wanted to go with this. And I don't buy that Paul Feig is a huge Ghostbusters fan, because to miss the mark so fully, and granted, I guess this is his style. So
For the record, I don't think he's a huge Ghostbusters fan. I said I think he gets what he was working with. Like, he understood the fandom.
But it just feels like this movie is like capitalizing off Ghostbusters, which is the one thing you don't want it to feel like. If you're a quote unquote huge Ghostbusters fan, you don't want to have the movie come out and then have people go, you know, if you took the ghosts out of this, it feels like it's the heat. I mean, it doesn't feel like a Ghostbusters movies. It feels like you made the heat and then we're like, throw some ghosts in there and we'll just package this thing up and call it Ghostbusters. This feels like a movie that Sony made to sell toys. And that's where this comes in and gets to be really, really disappointing to me. Because if you sat down and said, what are the core tenets of a Ghostbusters movie? I believe there are some. I don't believe that you can reinvent it and go so far from the mark that and call it, say, hey, this is our spin on it. Because there's a difference between a spin and just fundamentally making a completely different type of movie.
The problem, though, I think you're on the same page as me, right? Is like, you're talking about there'd be Ghostbuster tenets you'd go back to. They would be tenets. And I think so many times in this movie, they are things or references or lines or places. Well, I think what this movie should, the rock and the hard place they're in of like, what are you going to do with this? I remember when, my greatest fear for the longest time was like, oh my God, they're going to reboot Ghostbusters at some point when all the movies had started. I'm talking about like early 2000s, maybe even late 90s, I forget. But I'm like, eventually they're going to do this and it's not going to be in the same, like, I don't want this kind of thing. And so I remember when they got there and they announced the cast and I was like, how fucking brilliant. Yes, immediately turn it on its head, right? Like, get out of there. Don't try to do the exact same thing. Let's have it all be a cast of all female Ghostbusters. That sounds exciting. I wonder what they're going to do with it. And what they did is a pretty carbon copy in many regards take on what Ghostbusters 1 was, of them, being at a university. They're thrown out of the university. They go into business for themselves. They don't have that much money. It's like, I feel like, again, back to the rock and the hard place for Paul Feig and the team doing this, whatever the, overall Archie, for sure, Sony wants to sell toys, but it is this idea of like, well, we want to do something new, but we don't want to shock audiences. Blah, blah, blah. It's this in and out thing again, where this movie doesn't know what it wants to be. I think it would have been fucking phenomenal if it would, not the movie overall. It would have been a fucking phenomenal idea to say, we're going to stick to the thing that it's going to be the same. It's going to be these 4 women. They're going to be Ghostbusters, but blow up everything else. Like, let's not even worry about it. Let's go make a movie. What's an actual story we'd want to tell? Don't worry about the firehouse. Don't even worry about the Ecto one. Like, I think you would get the Ecto one, but like, there's so many different little things that you would do that you don't have to do it this way. Where, I mean, again, remember when this movie fucking got announced? It immediately started getting eaten alive, which is so rough about this movie. It's so rough at the time to say, I'm a Ghostbusters fan and I don't like this movie. And people are like, yeah, me neither. They shouldn't have made it chicks. And I was like, whoa, no, that's not the argument. That's not my problem. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like, it was such a visceral backlash from the announcement, even that then they put out that first trailer, remember, which opened and it was like, in 1984, 4 scientists came together. They're going to have to do it again. It's like, immediately confusing any mainstream person who's seeing this of like, wait, is this in the same universe? No, it's not the same universe. What the fuck are you talking about? Then why are you even bringing this up?
Yeah, that's my point. That's the first red flag.
Andy had his hand up. Andy had his hand up, Nick.
I just wanted to pop in really quick and say, like, I understand why Bill Murray has trust issues and doesn't want to sign on to a lot of different projects. Whenever we hear about the difficulty of like, when will we get Bill Murray to sign up for something? Like he's always the last one, and it's doubtful, but you know, it's a possible thing. And to have him in this movie, and for me, again, I didn't grow up watching Ghostbusters, and to me, it's like, oh, they're gonna include him in the story somehow. He's gonna be, that's not really who he is. He's gonna be like, no, man, I'm Spengler. Venkman. What did I say? Spengler?
That's Egon. Yeah, you're not. Far.
Oh, gotcha.
You're in the right ballpark.
And for him to not be Venkman, and for him not to have a little bit more pivotal of a role, maybe more of a like a Yoda type role model type thing, to just throw him out of a window, I was like, what is this movie doing?
But I mean, like, so Tim, do you have it? Do you want to come in off the bench on this one? Do you have the facts of the ghosts or whatever the fuck we're calling it?
I mean, I don't know. There's a ton of things. The one thing that you might be alluding to is the fact that he like didn't want to be a part of Ghostbusters, period, anything. And a lot of that had to do with the death of Harold Ramis and stuff, but then signed on for this because he wanted to support the women, the comedians, where he likes them personally.
Yes, that's true. But it was a last second, this movie's already so close to being done, I'll come in and do this. Like, go watch that scene. He's not in the scene with them. Like, that is all. They never share a frame. When it's shot super awkwardly over the shoulder of a guy sitting there with the hat blocking his face because it's not really there. Bill Murray at the last second came in and was like, okay, I'll do this. And his reasoning being in all the interviews after the fact, right, of like, and there's been more over the years, but at the time it was, I didn't want someone to see this film and take my lack of participation as not supporting these women. I support them in doing this role, right? And then later on, he added to a little bit of something along the lines of like, I have a good relationship with the cast. It's my relationship with Sony that is not great or something. And I'm paraphrasing there. And when all those emails got leaked, there had been a whole bunch of stuff in there that they were like threatening arbitration and like real like getting into the weeds about it, right? But it is that thing of like, man, this scene doesn't work. Of course it doesn't, because it was shoehorned in at the last second because they had everybody else. They had Andy Potts, they had Sigourney Weaver, they had Ernie Hudson, they had Dan Aykroyd. Like,
when Sigourney Weaver's Kevin, she's only in the post credits. I know you're making that face because you're like, where was she? She was in the credits.
Oh man. As soon as this shit ended, I turned it off. I was like, nope.
Because it shouldn't have even been there. Like, again, like it's such a fucking sad situation of this movie trying to be everything and nothing, or trying to be everything and I guess and becoming nothing. I'm just like, they should have been like, cool, all the old Ghostbusters want to come back, and Paul Feig and Sony should have been like, no, we want to do it in New York. No, let's do anything. Let's give this its own identity. What the fuck are we doing? What is this movie? Let's have it be Wet Hot American Summer or Bab and Star, whatever the fuck. Go to Vista Del Mar. Let's have it be just batshit insane and have a crab and a proton pack. Like, let's fucking go that way with it rather than
let's not
do this weird. You loved that crab was so good. That crab was so good.
I was going to mention that like this kind of feels like a movie that would exist only in the Kevin Smith universe of the View universe, where like they're redoing Ghostbusters and it's clearly a money grab, and they're just going to throw we can't let this happen. They're just going to throw a bunch of like big time celebrities at it and think that it's going to be good, but you can't just recreate that magic. Like, this feels like a movie made inside of another movie to kind of show Hollywood, no, bad, don't do
like
this.
It's a parody of itself. Like, it's an SNL, a bad SNL skit of how badly Hollywood can fuck something up. That's what this feels like at times, where you're like, how are you simultaneously making the thing that you also rail against when you do Saturday Night Live and like parody these things? It's very weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tim, I
The
do want
weird-
to point out though, I love the VFX though, because
Yeah.
the sort of HD upgrade of you all know I love seeing that shit, and I love seeing visuals being
Maybe loves
upgraded. And like
visuals.
I loved being able to see all of that old style visual stuff in a new light with all of the lighting effects and the lights reflecting back on the characters, and you're seeing the proton the streams or whatever. Like all that shit looked so cool, and I was really stoked to kind of see this sort of HD remaster, new paint of coat on it. It looked really cool.
Yeah, totally. Just a funny thing to bring up is that this actually reviewed very well across the board. I mean, very well compared to the way that we all talk about it. Like where even now it's at 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, but like the consensus, the cinema score, which is like when actual people are leaving the theater watching it for the first couple of weeks, they loved it. Like it was like even higher than 74 at that point, and then it gets bombed from the audience score from the same people that dislike bombed the trailers and stuff.
I don't like
it's-
women.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a lot of complicated areas that go into this shit, but yeah, and the box office at the end of the day speaks for itself. Like this, it didn't work, but it does work. Our sponsor codes. So check out all these codes with our sponsors, and we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by ARCANE, the Netflix original series from the creators of League of Legends. ARCANE is a 9-episode, 3-part series that follows the story of 2 young girls, Vi and Powder, who were born in the Undercity beneath Piltover. Their eagerness to prove themselves sets a series of events in motion that take their relationship to its breaking point and transforms them forever. Witness the animation event of the year and see the champions you know and love, like Vi, Jinx, Heimerdinger, and Jace's stories will all intertwine in this action-packed series, whether you've played League for ages or if you're a brand new person to Runeterra. ARCANE is the perfect introduction to League of Legends' vast worlds, following the origins of some of its most iconic characters. It dives into stories behind one of the most played games of all time, and you can too. Prepare for the epic battle that's only the beginning. ARCANE is now streaming exclusively on Netflix. Next up, shout out to Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's the newest installment in the acclaimed JRPG series developed by Atlas. You play as a young high school student who's granted an accursed power to save his life. He becomes a new being that's neither human nor demon, a Nahobino. There you go. And you're suddenly transported from modern Tokyo to a post-apocalyptic world. You'll explore the demon-infested wasteland of an enigmatic realm that's filled with mythical deities and demonic tyrants in constant conflict for survival. Search for answers and forge your own path in a battle between light and dark, and your choices will dictate the fate of the world. Turn formidable foes into worthy allies by recruiting them via negotiations, then fuse them to create demons customized to fit your playstyle. Shin Megami Tensei 5 has been fully rendered in 3D, utilizing Unreal Engine 4, a first for the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series. You can pre-order the deluxe and standard editions of Shin Megami Tensei 5 today on the Nintendo eShop. Next up, shout out to Overland. You all know that cozy is my middle name, but there's nothing I like to do every day that's cozier than slipping into some Overland sheepskin slippers. I've been using these, G's been using these, Greg Miller has been using these, and he is now a proud papa walking around with that baby, and his feet have never been comfier. Overland uses expert craftsmanship to pair the highest quality merino sheepskin, which is naturally moisture wicking, temperature regulating, and antimicrobial. And you know how I feel about microbes. With supportive memory foam midsoles in order to make slippers that feel better and wear better for longer. Don't wait another day to slip into something way more comfortable, or give it as a gift to somebody that you love. Get the best, highest quality sheepskin slippers on the market at overland.com/KindaFunny. You'll get free shipping and free returns. I recommend you go today because these slippers are slipping off the shelves, everybody. They're so beloved that they've been known to sell out. That's overland.com/KindaFunny, overland.com/KindaFunny. And next up, shout out to Raycon. It's never too early to start holiday gift shopping, especially because right now you can save big on the best everyday gift. Some Raycon wireless earbuds. Cool Greg's been using these, training for his marathon, getting his run on, and he got the jams in his ears. Raycons have seamless Bluetooth pairing, a noise isolating fit, and amazing sound quality, which now you can customize thanks to their new sound profiles on their new everyday earbuds. They've got 3 modes you can choose from: pure, balance, and bass, so you can always have just the right
right amount of bass, and boom, baby. So this holiday season, get the ones you love, something that they'll use every day, whether it calls for music, for calls, for work, for play, home, or on the go. Go to buyraycon.com/kindafunny today to unlock exclusive deals up to 20% off your Raycon order. But hurry, this offer is available for a limited time only, and if you don't want to miss it, you better get moving. That's buyraycon.com/kindafunny to unlock up to 20% off your Raycons. Buyraycon.com/kindafunny.
And now that we're back, Andy, hit me with the plot song, please.
We'll see if this works, everybody. Don't get mad at me if it doesn't, okay? He's gonna be a dad when that baby comes loose. What is his name? Greg Miller. He's gonna say the plot. He'll drink recap juice. What is his name? Greg Miller. We're gonna let Tim host.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ghostbusters 2016. Sadly, you can't have the sweet without the sour. We knew we'd have to do this when we started this journey. No one was looking forward to it. Welcome back. So yeah, we start at the Aldrich house in New York City, of course, ladies and gentlemen, where old String Bean from Silicon Valley is giving a tour, explaining this old house they have here, right? And it's a fun tour, and it's a great tour. And he's like, this is happening, and that's happening, and then this guy lived here, and then what was it? His daughter, his wife, whoever, she killed a bunch of people. And so they locked her in here, and she died down there. And then, he sold the house, and they opened the thing, and they found a fucking body down there, and they're like, never again. They locked it all up. They put all these locks on it. It hasn't been opened. It hasn't been open.
A little scary, honestly. Like,
again, this is a good opener. This is a good opener, and like if they could have
Fill
kept
the
this
stairs scene.
Good open. Well, I would say
where
it's
he
a
hangs
good
there and yells,
opener.
"No, no, 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 no,
The way it was shot of like the stairs kind of exploding and like just all of that. I was like, oh no, we're in for some shit with this. I love that guy though.
I feel like I could have ignored that ridiculousness if they like. I was like, oh wow, they killed that man. That man is dead. And like 2 seconds later, it's like, oh no, he's alive.
He literally, Kevin, that was a huge thing
guess.
for me too. When I first watched this, I was like, oh fuck, they killed Jared from Silicon Valley. That's bold. And
Yo,
then what's that?
I will pay anybody here $5 if they can name that man.
Oh, I don't know his name. I just call him Jared from Silicon Valley.
Does anyone not call him Jared from Silicon Valley?
Give me
I don't know.
I mean, he's the to me he's the office guy. But what's the first letter of the
I'm
name?
looking at his name right now, and I'm just like, holy fuck! I've never even heard this.
Because I've a Z.
Zach Efron.
Zach is what it is.
Andy, you don't know it. I'm looking at it too. There's no way. You know,
It's so funny because like what Tim's going through right now, I've gone through at least 6 times in my life with this dude, and like I still don't remember his name.
Zach Woods is his name. What the
Of
fuck?
course, Xavier's brother.
Yes. I love this
Anyways.
guy, by the way. I think this scene is a perfect example of how this movie kicks off incorrectly, right? The scene goes on, and they just let him talk for so long. And he's got some dynamite jokes in there, which, again, out of place because we're immediately saying, okay, there's no serious characters in this whole movie. And that's fine if that's the tone you're going to go for. I disagree with that. I don't think that should be the tone. I think that the only characters that should be funny in this are our protagonists, and everyone else should be playing it straight. But that's because I love the original Ghostbusters. But he's got that line about like the electrified anti-Irish fence or whatever it is. It gets a chuckle out of me. It's a clever, mildly racist line, but the way he delivers it, and that it kind of works. But then he says more and more and more jokes and more and more and more jokes. So we get this backstory. We're like, fuck, this mansion's better be really important in this.
It's gonna be a huge
plot.
It's gonna be huge.
It's gonna be fucking huge. And we spent a lot of time in this mansion, and it really doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, but is it really that different from the last 2 plots of the movies? Let's be
because
honest.
Where we spend a lot of time in is Dana Barrett's apartment, and that building is a character. It's a set piece and a character in and of itself. And we end up the climax happens at the end of that building. So there's a lot of times like, no,
Same
it's
thing
not
with
the end
the
of the
museum.
world, but get us through this a little bit. Like let's cut some of the fat on these scenes if this isn't going to be important, because I think that's another issue that this movie has is it's just too much all the time. There's no priorities given to the actual story plot of this thing.
So he gives it to her, and the thing there, and then he's like, "All right," and then the candle falls over. He's like, "Oh, let's go a little bit quicker, right?" Says goodbye to everybody, picks the candle up, and then does the classic fucking movie thing, right? Picks up the candle, and then picks up his little click, click. Oh, I made it move. Okay,
Dude, Greg, I mean, like when you right now mentioning classic movie thing, one of my many annoyances with this movie is like it does every stupid fucking comedy cliche in the book. And if somebody falls down and you don't see him and they go, "I'm okay," like that sort of level of shit that you've
Yeah.
seen a billion fucking times. And this movie does so many of those little things that are like, guys, we can't, like, did you just did you go to your local Barnes and Noble and buy like comedy tropes and like, what can we put in here? Because like, it really feels like they just took from writing comedy 101. There's a lot of really dumb shit in here that just doesn't work.
What was it? Who was it that told us that story or tells the story of how they were hired to punch up an animated movie? Was it Patton Oswalt? Something like that? Where it's like it had already been animated, but they were like, we just need you to make the scene funny. He's like, well, how am I going to make the scene funny if I'm not in the scene? They're like, just say some stuff that'll be off camera. It feels like every scene, they're like, this just could be better. It could be better. Let's just throw more and more stuff at this cake until finally the damn thing just falls over.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the door opens. He's like, "What?" Or no, actually, that's not right. Right? The door starts shaking, and he panics, and he's running around, and like more shit's happening, more noises are happening, crap. And eventually, yeah, he runs backwards, right? Because the doorknob was hot, and he runs backwards, and he runs downstairs, which he should immediately know is a bad idea. Because why would you go down there? And he goes down there, and then he sees the ground, coming up. Oh, there was a little contraption, by the way, that was in the museum, little like a ghost bomb. We'll find out about later, but don't worry too much about it. But remember, you saw it right now. And so he ran down there, and he goes down there, and then he looks at the floor, and it's all cracking. And it's got all sorts of green stuff coming out of it, light. And he's like, "Oh no!" He says something like, "Oh no, I'm a big dumb string bean." And so he turns around, and then he runs up the stairs.
I'm
and
a
that's when they
corn
start.
dog string bean.
I'm corn dogging it right now. He starts running up there, and the stairs are exploding, like he said. Yeah, right. And he jumps, and he fingertips it, and then he looks back, and like the Ghostbusters music builds, and he like the light comes, like a long time on these no's or whatever. But eventually we cut, and it's the Ghostbusters logo, and you're watching Ghostbusters 20.
And it hits good. Like the music always hits.
Yeah.
Good job, music. Good job.
Boy,
Except for when
right?
Fall Out Boy does it later on. But...
Oh God, no. Oh God.
Or is it Panic at the Disco? No, it's
Fall Out Boy.
It's Fall Out
It's
Boy,
so
right?
bad. God damn.
So then from there, this is where we go to meet Kristen Wiig's character, Aaron Gilbert. I'll tell you what, I did not feel anybody's. I mean, Aaron and Abby, they say a lot. Holtzman, they say a lot. Patty, they say a lot. It's there, but it's hard. It's rough. You know what I mean? Especially because there's no real. Who are these characters? They're just people. You know what I mean? They're just there doing their things. There's very little. I could have known. It doesn't matter. We'll get into it a different time, I guess.
What
So-
other time?
I don't know. I mean, like later on when they talk about it, but it's back to Nick's point that like I feel like everybody is everything, so they don't have that like defined role. Like I guess even
They
like
really don't. There's no straight
Patty's
man in this.
weird thing of like
Unlike
knowing
Ernie
everything
Hudson.
about New York, and not even like when she's like, "I know New York." I'm like, "Oh, you know the subways, you know all this different stuff." No, like she knows that like this place was used for
Everything.
slave trades or whatever it was, and like, oh my, like Jesus Christ, like she knows like the intricacies of why people were killed there. Oh, the Native Americans were killed there when whatever was happening. I was like, Jesus Christ, all right, fine.
Immediately though, and the reason why I was so disappointed with Kate McKinnon's character is like clearly she's kind of supposed to embody Egon as the nerd with the glasses and the hair high, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna be that character, and then we'll drift into other character archetypes many times, and then come back to that Egon character where it is the slight like sarcastic line that's really deadpan. And then it's right back into being this weird, wonky character. Like, what are you? Just stick to something, please.
I mean, when they played the Queef tape, yeah, that was one all you needed to know to be like, all right, well, this is how these characters are going to be. This is where we're going to go with it, right? But even, Kristen Wiig's character, which, you would think, and not that I would think when you cast Kristen Wiig this, but like the way they set her up, oh, she's going to be the straight person. She's going to be the straight man. Everybody else can be wild and weird around her. But then 15-30 minutes later, she's doing some kind of choreographed 7th grade paranormal dance with Abby. Like, all right, whatever. Anyway, so in my version that I watched last night, this is where we go back to meet her. She's getting ready for her day. She gets to talk in the big lecture hall. She's lecturing in the big lecture hall today. It's a big deal. She goes to some little faculty, not meeting. You know what? Sometimes you get those phone calls. You're just like, why Is Adi calling me right now, Shankar? There it is. You know what I mean? Like, we'll address that later on a different episode of the Kind of Funny podcast and what he's up to. Shankar.
I feel like I need you to
You should have
pause
answered.
this and
You should have
answer
answered.
that call.
Yeah, this is definitely less important than that. Just so you know. Just so
Answer.
you know.
We'll continue with the plot. Yeah, we'll continue.
And so, yeah, she goes there. She's got her big 10-year meeting coming up. She goes to see her boyfriend, who isn't really her boyfriend, but like he kind of just seems like a skis bag where he's kind of like, he's probably having sex with her, but not treating her like, and not calling her his
She was
girlfriend. You know what I
horrible.
mean?
I don't like that I saw a different
God
version
awful.
of it. Yeah, like where
The scene was?
huh?
The scene was horrible, Tim?
Yeah.
His
character, this scene, just like, and I'm happy they cut him for different versions because, like, yeah, it just doesn't work and it's extremely unclear. I think for a movie that has a lot of things that are kind of like, why is this happening, or like the dance scene, like he's a character. I'm like, why are you acting this way? Are we supposed to believe you guys have a relationship or not? Like there's kissing, but then there's also like a lot of like, I'm not with you. Like it's really fucking weird.
The way I interpreted it was, that it's there. He's banging her on the side, but doesn't want anybody to know. Like he's not proud of it. But to your point, like it's just her being such a weird, like, oh, Kristen Wiig, like little tiny hands character from SNL. You're like, well, I don't know. Like this is just a weird scene, but there's so many weird scenes. Anyways, that doesn't matter for the plot we're even talking about since we didn't see some of you didn't see that movie.
Greg, I want to imagine that you answer the Adi Shankar's call, and he's like, "Yeah, and plus the plot is all over the place." Like,
he's like, "I'm watching live right now, and let me tell you why this is a bad movie." And so yeah, it's a thing set up, I guess, or used to show that Kristen Wiig's character is like, stands for nothing. She keeps like saying stuff to this woman she wants to impress, and the woman says the opposite. So Kristen Wiig keeps it just, whatever. She goes to the big lecture hall to teach her class. This also sets up the 10-year thing. She's there being all weird, setting it up. And this is when, and I forgot he was in this movie, so this was not on purpose. When I
Tywin Lannister.
When I mentioned Ed Begley Jr. from the
I thought
electric.
you mentioned it because he was in this movie.
I know I mentioned him because he was in the documentary about the electric car we were referencing the other day.
God,
and I'm watching this fucking movie, and I'm like, Ed Begley Jr. shows up. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in this world? I forgot he's there. He shows up and he's like, hey, excuse me, you're Kristen Wiig's character, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm Kristen Wiig's character. And she's like, you wrote this book. And she's like, I didn't write that book. I don't believe in ghosts. That's silly. If somebody believed in ghosts, that'd be crazy. Get out of here, crazy person. And he's like, this looks like you. And she's like, no, that is me. That does look.
Oh, that's Ed Begley. So I never knew
she's like,
that
but I wrote it as a goof. I wrote it as a goof. He goes, the first line.
Yeah, I wrote it as a joke. The first line is, this is not a joke. That was a joke.
But like that again, that humor is
It's
so
so
specific
low.
to a movie that is not
this.
Ghostbusters. It's
Yeah,
not this
totally.
movie. I want to laugh at that, but I also want them to try to take something seriously in this film so I can care.
Ed Begley Jr. lays out, of course, that he's the caretaker of the Aldrich Mansion or whatever, Aldrich Hotel. And, they had a ghost sighting there and he just wanted some help. And so, whatever. Fuck you. Then he leaves. And then she goes to her office and she's like, how did you even get this? It's out of print. He's like, no, it's on Amazon. It's an ebook and this. She's like, God damn it. She goes back to her desk and goes to Amazon where, the book is up, right? Abby has republished it and put it back up. This is when Tywin Lannister walks in, right? And he's all like, ooh, you want tenure? You better fucking do what I say. Ooh, Khaleesi, you know what I mean?
So absurdly
Nailed it.
serious, and it's like, oh, I'm sure we're gonna see him a whole bunch more in this movie.
This is gonna be a big thing that wasn't just used because he was
He never said Khaleesi. He never dealt with her.
left and right. He was talking to her all the time. You kidding me? Remember, it was Khaleesi had sex with her brother Khal Drogo. I was a big fan. Pushed Jon Snow out the window. I remember the show. And so, anyways, and she's like blocking it and hiding it and doing all this stuff, but basically again setting up that oh, you got your letter of recommendation from Princeton. You could do better.
Sylvester Stallone was in the movie. Cool.
Yeah, and so eventually he leaves. When he leaves, we do see a bust of Harold Ramis they put in the hallway there to honor Harold.
That bust there, Greg, was later donated to the Harold Ramis Film School at Chicago's Second City, where Ramis began his career.
Oh,
Very nice. Very nice. And so then she's like, fuck. And then she goes back to the Amazon page, reads that Abby is teaching at some garbage college, Higgins Science Institute. And so she's like, I'm going to go find Abby. And so she goes from her prestigious University of Columbia to Higgins, which is just a dirtbag school. People are fighting out front. Nothing's really happened. She goes up there. She comes into Abby's lab, and Abby thinks she's the what do you call it? The wonton soup person. And so she starts yelling, not having seen him or her, Kristen Wiig. And then she comes out as the delivery guy comes in, Benny. He gets the soup from her. It's got one wonton in it. It's split in half. She's mad about that.
Why doesn't she check? She waits till he leaves, and then it pulls
For
it
the
out
comedy.
and is like, oh, just one. It's bad comedy. I hate this.
Yeah, it is. I understand.
Again, no, I mean, I don't think it's bad comedy. I fucking legitimately, when she takes the whole thing out at the end and it's packed full of, what do we call them? Wonkongs? What do you call them? That's good comedy right there. See that?
That's a good callback. See, there you
That's a
go.
great
Yeah,
call.
you're
Bro,
not
when
running this joke
when
into
she
the
takes out the thing at the end, and she's like, I'm just looking for a normal amount of wontons in these.
I feel like that's backwards. They should have had her not say anything, take it out, and be like, one? There's one? You know, like that would have been. Instead, it's set up, and then she doesn't check it, and then he leaves. Then it's like, oh, they got one again. It's so bad. This movie's awful.
So this is where we get Holtzman introduced. They're here. They're doing research. They've already found proof of ghosts. They have an EVP. Oh, what now? Oh, I know what it is. Okay, and they go over there, and then it's just a queef joke. And then she's like, whatever. And the whole problem, Kristen Wiig, of course, is like, Abby, take the book down. Like, I need you to take the book down. I'm up for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I'm not going to take the book down. Like, I'm making good money off it kind of thing. And so then they argue about it for a while, and then Kristen Wiig lets it slip, of course, that, how did you even find out about it? This guy came in. He had a ghost over at the Aldridge Mansion or whatever. They grab their coats. They're ready to leave. Kristen Wiig's like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm going to go do this. Blah, blah, blah. And basically, they get to a deal of, okay, I'll take the book down. I'll consider taking the book down if you take us over there and introduce us to the guy who came over to the Aldridge house. And she was like, got it. Deal. So now they get into the cab and they go over to the Aldridge house, and they get there and they get out front of him like, all right, let's go in. And then there's the guy.
Is the part where Jared's across the street and she's like, I'm looking for Ed Mulgrave. And he goes, Ed Mulgrave? He's been dead for 15 years. And then Ed Begley Jr. walks up. She goes, what? That's who I'm looking for. He goes, oh, that's Ed Mulgrave Jr. She goes, well, obviously who I was talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's
this is
funny, man.
That's a funny joke.
That's
a funny joke. That was a funny joke.
It didn't do anything for me. This felt like same thing like what Andy was saying, where it's like, what's a basic level joke? All right, yeah, we'll do that. That's perfect. And it's just like, all right.
Hey, man, I'm sorry. You're getting outvoted here, man. It's 4-1 right now.
It's funny, bro.
No problem.
You're Walter Peck, and we're the Ghostbusters.
Now again, Kevin, this is like one of 5-7 jokes maybe that didn't work, and the other like 70 just didn't work for me.
Lots
So
of
keep
swings
that in
and
mind.
misses. Lots of strikes getting thrown out.
Yeah.
All right. This was a good one. Okay. Anyways, they eventually established that yes, there was a ghost inside. He's here. He's not dead, but he got scared and he soiled his pants. No, was it pee or poo? No, if it was poo, can I get a sample? You want a sample? Well, what? Back and forth about this.
Great comedy. You know what I mean? Oh, he peed himself. It's like, all right. The bar is so low with every joke.
And they're like, all right, we'll go in there and we'll investigate this then. All right. And they're like, yeah, go in there. And this is when he says, you're going to die in there. And like, well, you didn't. You know what? I don't even.
So why would I?
The stairs fell out from you. You saw the green light. It looks like maybe, again, to Nick's point, the stakes are higher, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're lower than they were in Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I don't even know what's happening with these ghosts. The girls go in there and they're investigating. They're looking around. The door's locked. They shake it. That's weird. Kristen Wiig at one point, Abby brings out the PKE meter. Again, a cool looking PKE meter. Again, they've reinvented the equipment here or whatever. It's got the crazy neons and it's spinning around.
It looks like one of those when you go to see at Disney on Ice, and you're like at the Aladdin show, and they
in the
have
crowd.
They sell this little thing that spins. I mean, I think that's what it was. It spins and the lights open up. So
you don't think it's cool? You don't think it's a good look?
I much prefer the one we'd seen before with.
Oh shit! Well, yeah, I'm just saying, I thought this one looked cool. I mean, I prefer the original PKE meter. You know what I mean? But this is a lot like in Batman Forever when Chris O'Donnell, aka Robin, drove into that neon cult area and saved that girl or whatever. And we were all like, "What if we had a movie in this pocket dimension?"
That neon cult was
cool.
so cool. That neon
this is
cult
fucking
was really
cool.
rad.
How long do you
Does
think
Batman ever kiss the girl?
How long do you think you could exist in that neon cult before one or all of us got a headache? It's like I need a normal light. It's like that time we rented the sex dungeon in E3, and I was like, "There's got to be a normal tungsten light bulb."
What
in
do
here
you
someplace.
do at 3 p.m.?
Yeah, what do you do?
Oh, man.
I like
Anyways,
to live my life.
eventually Kristen Wiig steps in some slime and she's like, ew. And then she's like, ew. And she walks over and the door's open too. She's like, ew. And she walks over to the girl. She's like, very funny. You know, you put the green stuff on the ground, you open the door. We know, did you open the door? I didn't open the door, blah, blah, blah. And so then, of course, the ghost comes out of the basement. Again, it looks really, really cool, I think. And I was like, okay, cool looking ghost. Flies over to them. Holtzman is eating Pringles here. Or is it? Yeah, she's eating Pringles with the camera here and whatever. And then, they have the PKA meter. And Andy Cortez.
Did we have any sort of grading of quality of ghosts in the first two?
No, we have not. Do you want to start a new segment called Ghost Grades with Andy Cortez?
No, not by us. I just like.
I love how Andy goes, no. I don't want to make a theme song.
We're great on Ghost now. We're great on Ghost. Great on Ghost with Andy Cortez. Andy Cortez. Dude, gonna grade some Ghost. What's it gonna use?
What the hell is this octave we're hitting? I hate it.
Is it A, B, C? Or is it 1, 2, 3? Grade some Ghosts.
It's similar to how I didn't know about tornadoes until I saw
Andy's going to Greece. I like the grades. Andy going to grade some ghosts.
God, great, it makes it feel good.
I just want to like cut to the producer who's like pushed play on the theme song is like it's still going. Like it's does the volume ever go down? I need to talk over it. In the same way that when I watched Twister and I didn't know, that's when I learned like F1 through F5, and in here they kind of have a scale of like,
you mean do they?
What's hilarious is Greg just realized what you mean, and yes, there is in fact like levels of spectrums from the first one.
From the first two?
I think there are. Yeah. They reference those.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
When Dan Aykroyd shows up in this one and he's like, whatever, that's just a free floating. It's a play on what he did before.
Because I always wonder, because they mentioned like this first ghost that they encounter looks very elaborate and a lot more detailed than say Slimer or the just floating lights, like those more like apparition sort of trailing spirits in Final Fantasy VII Remake. And I thought that was a cool concept. I guess I didn't remember from part 1 and 2, but I like kind of having that level of.
They use it way more here, and they all use it. Where it's like you know what I mean,
like the midi-chlorians here.
In Ghostbusters 1 and 2, it's more of like a Egon and Ray thing. They go back and forth with a little bit about the classes or whatever, and full spectrum vaporous apparition kind of shit like that. Like they're the ones doing that, and it's more like science talk here and there. It's said more here. It is definitely said more here.
Cool.
Oh God!
And not the outro theme song.
Integrated some ghosts.
Bow, bow, bow.
I really like the grades. Oh yeah, so the ghost shows up. Eventually, Aaron's like, "I'll try to talk to it." She goes over there and talks to it, and it just barfs in her face. And they all talk about how beautiful it is, but it's a very abrupt, huge thing of vomit that again breaks the frame. I really liked it. I remember watching it in theater like it, and I liked it again here. Right? Again, it's just like poof, colorful as all hell. The frame breaking the way they do, I'm with Tim. I thought that was a really nice stuff.
In 3D, the frame breaking was like revolutionary. Like it made it feel so. Because I remember I watched this in 3D, and that like there's two moments, like one where the whip gets out of the frame, and it's like wow, it makes it feel like it's actually.
Damn, I never even recognized that.
Popping out, yeah.
I didn't notice those moments.
Anytime there's particle effects, Andy, like from this moment on, essentially, anytime they have the things out, it breaks the letterbox.
Because I always watch on shrooms. I do like hardcore shrooms and acid.
Yeah, totally. Me
and
too.
I see the particles everywhere, like all over the place.
You don't know what's real and what's fake. You know what I mean? And so, the ghost pukes on her, and then it flies out of the building. They chase after it. They're filming. They're freaking out about it. And then after it's gone, they have this moment of like, we did it. We saw a ghost. And Abby and Kristen Wiig jump over that. Ghost are real. Ghosts are real. It cuts to a YouTube page and it pulls back to the guy from Game of Thrones watching it with her. And her being like, who's that? I don't know. And he's, she's fired, obviously, from the university. She's not going to get tenure for that. She's ridiculous now, right?
Some of the comedy here and using the YouTube and all that stuff, not necessarily my favorite thing. It's a trope we've seen a million times at this point. But the moment of them seeing the ghost, kind of freaking out about it, the way the music swells there, and then like gelling as a group of just being hyped about this together, I really enjoyed that. I thought that was really good. Yeah. And I even thought that like it cutting was funny. It's just like some of the dialogue there. I'm like, oh, who's that? It's like, ugh, you ruined this. But like, I thought that was an earned moment. And I thought that from that moment on, I'm like, cool, we're about to have the Ghostbusters. That's pretty cool.
So, I guess the version that you guys watched without the boyfriend, does she walk the hall with her box? She's like, just taking my plant for a walk and
Worst scene in the movie.
Worst scene in the movie?
Every joke she makes doesn't land, and it goes on so long.
Damn, you think that's the worst scene?
So weird. I really do. I think because they let her improv. It's an example of the worst things of this movie, and that's all there is happening in the scene, where it's just her improving, none of it's working. They're just letting it go to be like, well, maybe the next one's gonna hit, maybe the next one, and it all feels in disservice to her character. Like,
they just kept rolling on the shot. It just kept rolling.
Totally. Didn't like
do it, Kristen. Do it. Do whatever you want. Eventually she leaves though, and she goes back to Melissa, Abby's place of business, that school. Higgins, thank you very much. And she's like, you guys got me fired. No, well, Abby, I remember for some reason. Kristen Wiig, I have to call Kristen
Aaron.
Wiig.
Her name's Aaron.
Yeah, we're gonna call her Kristen Wiig. And so you guys got me fired from my job for doing this. Well, that sucks, and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. But it's that thing of like, what are you doing? We have proof that their ghosts exist. We have proof. We have documented science fact. You should just come work here. It'll be super easy. We'll go upstairs. We'll tell the dean. We just need more money. And you cut to up there, the dean flipping out, right? Of like, I didn't know we still employed you people. Like, how long has this been going on? And he's like, and then they do the thing of like, not only is it a dirtbag school, he's a dirtbag guy in like a Hawaiian shirt who's the dean, right? I do like the line of this, like, I'm not gonna let you sully the 12-year reputation of this school.
There was a movie where some kid fakes like going to like college.
Accepted.
Oh, yeah.
Accepted, yeah.
Devin Sawa? Yeah.
Justin Long.
No, Justin Long. And,
Justin Long, that's it, yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Slackers.
But
that
the
is Justin Sawa, yeah.
The dean, there's the scene where like a parent is coming and wants to talk to the dean, and they have Lewis Black.
Yeah.
And I feel like the acting, like Lewis Black was pretending, or was acting like a person pretending to be the
dean.
The dean, and I feel like the acting is on par. Of like, oh man, they go so hard on this joke, and it doesn't hit, with the exception of the 12-year thing. I didn't get a laugh.
Because again, then it's back. It's like, okay, yeah, you're a dirtbag school, but then he starts flipping them off and doing the, blowing it up like a balloon, and it's a bird. Do this. It's like, I got 2 words for you, right? And she's like, he's gonna say suck it. He wouldn't say suck it. Suck it. He said suck it.
I like that scene's a lot, and I don't like it. But I will say, when he chases them out as they're stealing the equipment, and you realize he's wearing shorts and flip flops, for some reason that visual got a laugh out of me.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I was just like, oh fuck, that's funny.
Greg, so there's something here for you. It's either this scene or one of the other scenes. They're talking to one of the deans or whatever. But they have a line that says, unlike Columbia, this institute's 100% behind us. And it's a reference to the original movie where Columbia University allowed them to use it for filming, but they weren't allowed to say the name. Like they said, don't mention it.
Oh,
so
interesting.
Something there.
Wow. As you said, though, yeah, the dean, it's over, get out of here. So, the women go down there, they get their stuff, they wheel it out. And then, this is the thing where he comes out yelling at them. They would easily be caught, but they take off.
Stealing's wrong.
Yeah, if he just like put in any effort to run.
I do like where I think his line is like, come back here with that useless garbage. He doesn't care about it. He just doesn't want them to have it.
Andy, running in flip-flops is always scary.
Hard, Andy.
You never know when you're going to tear them in half. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, like the safety of your toes, is that
there's a lot of danger there. Yeah, I get.
You're not supposed to drive in flip flops.
I always do. I have
doesn't surprise me.
Driving flip flops in the car.
Kevin has his
Switching
own. He
them,
takes them
like,
out of the glove compartment like you would
Yeah.
take driving gloves out, but he puts the flip
That's
flops
exactly
on.
right.
Yeah, I like the
great.
idea that Kevin like takes his shoes off and replaces them in the car with flip flops.
Gotta get my driving.
It gets
skills
really
on.
crowded down there too.
It's funny.
All right, so from here we get introduced, I should say, to Patty, of course, Leslie down there, Leslie Jones
That's where we're
working.
at.
Yeah, there's a lot. I won't lie to you. I opened up the YouTube studio because I wanted to see what the chat reacted to me and Andy's amazing song back there, and there was definitely a moment where my heart sunk when I saw we'd been going an hour already.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, there's so much
We're
left.
15 minutes into this movie right
There's
now.
so much to recap right now.
Let's.
Get
I
some
mean,
recap juice in
we
here.
could just pretend that we fell asleep for 30 minutes and just jump ahead.
Like right here, like
Yeah.
when Tim gets back, we could be like, all right, hit me with that haiku and review, everybody.
Wait, now guys, hold on real quick. This is a conversation to have. Do we want to skip ahead? Because we can definitely skip ahead.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, you got to roll with me, though, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, so all right, now Abby's testing out a bunch of the equipment. All right, so like, yeah, of course they had already had the not so successful test down in the subway, right, where none of the stuff had worked. But when they left that, as I had said already, right, Holston was like, I understand the differences. We need to get a backpack, be more mobile, all that jazz, right? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Now
And
it's
as
cool though because we've already seen like her be like, here is the equipment, right? And that's always a great scene in any movie like this that you look forward to, where she's like, check out this cool new equipment. And we had that in the first Ghostbusters. And I was thinking to myself, Greg, do you think we need 2 more of these scenes in this movie? Do you
Hey
think we
man,
need 2 more?
again, well, I mean, this is the first one, right? Because you got the debut of the equipment that we already talked about, of course, in the subway where they, saw the ghost and
Yeah, we talked about that already.
And it
very limp
pedals
stream
out.
of it, right? Yeah. So then this next thing is, all right, cool. I've made it stronger, right? And again, this scene in the back alley where again, Patty, I hate to repeat myself like this, Patty's already, just decided to join the team. Her dad's got a car, or her uncle has a car. That's how they're gonna.
That's all they needed to bring her in the team.
It's this idea that, all right, cool, now they're in the back and they're going to test all this equipment. And like, this had always been my fear, for the record, of like a 2016 or a modern take on Ghostbusters was going to be this like slapstick, stupid CG comedy. And so sure as shit, let's put Melissa McCarthy into this proton pack and some pads, and she's zapping and she's flying and she's, getting twirled around, and like, just got to let her wear itself out, Tim. That's
Her idea. Of
course it was.
This wasn't in the script, and she convinced the director to make this happen.
Again, this isn't me. I get it. I understand it. I understand why it's there. It would be the equivalent. Remember, there was definitely a Ghostbusters 3 where they're trying to get Farley involved, and it would have been the same thing. He would have been falling through tables and walls and shit. Like, I understand, like, that's funny and like people like that. I just don't like the scene in terms of it. But she tries out the equipment.
Is it funny?
Sorry.
I said, is it funny though? I don't know.
People watch Young Sheldon, Kevin. I'm not going to sit here.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you what's funny.
Yeah. I mean,
Popular.
I guess you're right. You're right. People do watch Young Sheldon.
That's a
You know what I
great
mean?
point, Greg. Jesus Christ.
Well,
That's the most correct you've ever been in your life. Straight
Thank
up.
you. I mean, if we want to go on, I know we've been making great time on this plot. If we want to go on a diatribe here, right? I'll tell you what. Every time you watch a CBS game and they go to commercial, like, and like, it's 9th season of this fucking thing you've never heard, and it's America's #1 comedy. There's always a moment where I'm like, did I skip dimensions? Where the fuck am I? What the shit is this? Who watches this? I've
Hey,
never
but
heard
big
of anyone.
news. CSI Vegas is back, baby. Gil Grissom. Can't believe it.
Making up people. I don't
Wait,
know.
Andy, for reals?
Yeah, CSI. Yeah, with the whole cast. Yeah, Gil Grissom's coming back.
No.
Crazy.
Oh, that's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, he's a silver fox. He's more of a silver fox than he was
I'm
before.
gonna Google it right now.
Yeah.
So we leave this and they're like, you know what? We know we got the special effects. We know we've added a bunch of things, all this stuff. Like, let's, try to ground the cast now. All right. They are in New York, the city that never sleeps and is known for its delicious pizza. So let's have them gather around some Papa John's before we knew he was a straight up racist, and have them sit there and talk about it, share their lives. How did you guys get to know each other? Oh, in the 7th grade, Abby moved here, and there was a ghost. This is Aaron, by the way. This is Kate Christensen.
Remember when Papa John
Jesus,
was proud
Christ.
to report that he hadn't said the Ed word in a long time?
There's a reckoning coming. Remember when he warned us of the reckoning? You know what I mean?
He wore, yeah, and then COVID
He
hit.
fucking
Yeah.
all said he was ready for whatever was about to
Yeah,
happen with us.
all
He
the
was going to get us.
apocalypse.
He was going to.
He was so
gonna
proud of
let us
himself.
know.
It's like, how
Yeah.
much do you say it, bro? That's crazy. You're raising.
And so,
real quick,
Sorry,
is Ted Danson associated with CSI at all?
Ted Danson? Not that I know of.
Okay.
No.
Like, why is the first image? Because I just Googled it. With the first image,
Of CSI?
is that not Ted Danson in the middle right there?
That is Ted Danson.
Yes, he
Elizabeth-
did. Yes, he did have a run. Yes. You're right, Kevin.
he-
You're right.
he-
Is that
is in it.
Elizabeth Shue? Who's behind him?
No, that's the girl, and then that's the guy.
Okay, that was helpful. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know.
Very
She's
helpful.
So
like,
she was
she
Ghost
used to be
Girl,
Showgirl,
and this,
right?
the
That's her
neighbor
story?
died, and the
Yeah.
neighbor died, and she kept coming over for a year or some shit, and nobody believed her except Abby. Abby's the one who didn't make fun of her, didn't call her Ghost Girl. They became friends from that. Then is it here where they do the musical number? Where
Feels
Tim-
right.
Yeah, where they bust out the old 7th grade thing. Oh, I would love to see that. Then she immediately regrets it. I thought that was funny. Leslie Jones was like, oh, I'd love to see the 7th grade paranormal thing you had. They had the photo of it, and she's like, oh, I still have it. And then she's like, I immediately regret saying
Yeah,
that.
this,
And
this
then
whole bit really worked for me. I don't think it's the funniest thing ever, but I thought that it was like a good example of where I wish the rest of the movie kind of would add up to like that type of humor, where I think they did a good job. That does remind me more of what I like about the Paul Feig movies. And I thought that was funny. I thought Leslie Jones was hilarious. I'd be like, oh, fuck, I immediately regret this.
I need a reminder. I don't even know what the hell y'all are talking
I
about
don't know
right
what they're
now.
talking about either. I can't.
I was
remember.
gonna say I as I told you earlier, I would be cheating, as I often do not. I never cheat, or I often don't cheat, where I don't look at the movie while we do it. But I was like, wait a second, and I started skipping around, like, yeah, that's not in the cut you guys would have seen last night. There's a whole another scene where they give a little bit more backstory to Kristen Wiig's character and Abby's character, and in the 7th grade, and the stupid science fair presentation they did, and it actually, while very not great and very weird, I liked the Leslie Jones joke of it, Tim. I liked Kate McKinnon's back and forth with her, and I appreciate that they lay out the plot of the movie, because they do the whole thing of
This is
like,
good.
if you don't protect the lines, the dimensional barrier die, or something like they say something. You're like, oh, okay, cool, because that's what this guy's doing. Because we cut away from it to the guy going to the Ozzy Osbourne show, the Ozfest show.
Oh God,
where he goes in there and he's gonna set up another one of his little
Ozzy Osbourne guys.
devices or whatever.
never
Ozzy
has
Osbourne's there for 2 seconds. Why it have to be Ozzy Osbourne's Ozfest and have just to say you're wankers or whatever?
Never has there been a worse, I guess, showing of a fake live band. What is this band doing? Maybe
This
they're a
guy's
real band. I don't know. But this lead singer, what are
terrible.
you doing? This is awful. Nobody would think this is cool.
One of my favorite things that happened this episode so far is that Greg went on this whole diatribe about like he's not cheating or whatever, and I wasn't really clear what he was talking about. And then he came back to it, I guess now like 3 hours into the show, and explained it again. And now I understand what he's saying, and it just proves he's a fucking maniac. That in his mind it would be cheating. Like Greg thinks that he has to do this plot from memory,
Line by
or
line.
else-
And for the
or
record,
else he's
what
not doing his job, man.
For the record, if you're at home being like, I'm really let down in Greg, what I normally do is, or not normally, I should say, what I've been doing for the whole episode is I have it on Amazon here, right? And you can go to scenes. And so I have the scenes laid out. But then I was like, wait a second. I dialed into the scene here to see if, in fact, and then it goes from Kristen Wiig being in her stupid MIT sweatshirt to her being in the turtleneck. And I was like, they did cut this out. Andy and Nick don't know what's going on. I have to stop the entire show to let them know.
I was very
Love it.
confused. Yeah.
Love it.
And so on top of that exhibition, no. What am
What are you looking for? Mountain Dew.
Exposition,
Performance.
not
Oh.
exhibition, exhibit. On top of them explaining the story there in a song, the news then comes on, and this is where Bill Murray's character is introduced, right? Of like, ghosts are fake. In this video, these people put out of the subway ghost is fake, and everything's fake, so don't believe it. Don't worry about it. It sucks. And everybody's like, okay. And then the Ghostbusters were real mad about this. But while they're mad about it, a phone call comes in, and Chris Hemsworth answers it, and he hangs up real quick. And like, what was that all about, Chris Hemsworth? And he's like, oh, it was these people. He says something garbled, and they put it all
That's right.
together.
He's in the movie. That's right.
Oh well, yeah, Andy. Don't forget we already went through the whole boobs thing and the interview process we had, and the glasses and how he kept rubbing his nose.
course.
Yeah, we went through all that stuff when Tim was at the bathroom. We somehow managed to do 20 minutes of this movie when Tim
I
was
swear
in
to
the
God, shut the
bathroom.
fuck up. We made a promise and a pact, all right? You shut the fuck up. Anyways, and so then they go to the Ozzy Osbourne thing because that's what the call was. He had two things that, like, do you like me playing the saxophone or listening to the saxophone? I like that joke too.
Come on, it's fucking funny. Like that to me is like legit hilarious. Like laugh out loud. Again, there had like 5 moments in this movie that made me laugh out loud, and that is one of them.
It's again,
every time
there's
he
a bunch
touches
of chuckles sprinkled throughout this film, but it's just all the wasteland of movie between it that gets down for him. So they get the call, they run out there, we get the Ecto 1 reveal for the first time, which should be super fucking cool, and it's not. It's cool. Okay, the Ecto 1's, I like how big the logo
lame.
is.
I think it's lame. I don't like the look of the car.
Whatever.
I don't like the way they revealed it. I don't like the score that they had with it. Like all of this was just such a letdown, because what we were talking about earlier, it's like, let's take the old stuff and we have the technology, Andy. We can make this look how we want it to look. And it's like, that's how you want this to look? That sucks. Like their outfits, the Ecto 1 design, and just their like reveal of it all. Like the in the first movie, when you first see the Ecto 1 rip out of the damn firehouse and like go around, and there's smoke coming up, and like it obviously has weird matte paintings, and there's like some issues technically with it. But let them go. You let them go because it's hype and it means something and it was earned. With this, it's like, holy shit, you had such a great setup and y'all just dropped the ball.
Well, I mean, even with the costumes from the first ones, right? Like Greg, you'll obviously agree with me on this one. When you saw that when you were a kid, you're like, I gotta get one of those. That's the coolest costume. I need that. It's cool. It's a flight suit. They look kind of like sciencey, but also adventure-y. These ones, I mean, they even make a joke about it. They're like, you look like garbage men, and they just don't look designed at all. It's almost like they're like, these are too simple. Let's put these hideous stripes on them. And you're like, oh, why?
Well, that's how they had to differentiate, right? And of course, it's the movie plot, a reasoning of it. It's something you don't talk about in the original Ghostbusters, because I guess why would you need to? But they make a point of it here, right? Of like, here, this will stop your clothes from getting slimed, right? When Leslie Jones like, I sweat these from work. Like, this is why we should wear these, which again speaks to the whole like core of what Ghostbusters was, right? It was the idea that these guys were garbage men, they were utility workers, it was this blue collar thing they were doing that was science fiction or whatever. But that's all stuff that like they thought about when they wrote the script. They didn't make a point to put in the script.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't go out of their way to
subtext.
justify and
It's
explain
called
it. Kind of
subtext.
thing. Yeah.
Right. But to that degree, though, they still made stuff look cool. And in this one, it just looks. It just the creative choices, I think, with a lot of costuming and stuff like that, just leave. And I personally, the gadgets and stuff like that, I don't like them that much.
I mean, again, it goes back to what I think I was talking about earlier at the movie, right? Of just like being in this mid place of like trying to we're going to do something different, but we're also going to do something very familiar. You know what I mean? And like just missing the mark of like, yeah, like like whether this movie is good or bad, right? Like I should have a Ghostbusters 2016 jumpsuit in my closet. I do not. Whether this movie is good or bad, I should have had a Ghostbusters 2016 Proton Pack in my movie. I do not. Like none of it's cool. Like it all feels like you are just copying the original, which is why I would have totally rather seen them. I don't even know what the fucking movie would be, but do something radically different, right? And again, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, which we haven't talked about too much in all these movies, because of course we're going to eventually review it, is set up to be not dramatically different. Obviously, the Ecto 1's in it. Obviously, there's proton packs and traps in it, but it is in Oklahoma. It is all these kids. It is like, what the fuck's going on? And they piece it together. And sure, the Ghostbusters are going to show up at the end and help them or watch them solve it and save the day with their old equipment or some shit. But like, that is infinitely more interesting than we're trying to tell the Ghostbuster origin story again. Here are 4. Well, man, let me tell you, these are 4 characters, all right, and they need to start going to business for them. Like,
but how are we going to know it's Ghostbusters? Well, guess what? There's going to be slime, and there's going to be the Ecto 1, and there's going to be all these hallmarks in the movie. It's almost like if Tim asked me to write like a video essay on a game I've never played, and I just Googled a bunch of things, and like the first 5 things that I saw, I was like, well, these must be the things that you care about for Destiny. So here's what these are. It's like,
God,
totally
I would love that. Please write a video script for Destiny. Nick explains Destiny.
The plot.
Anyways, they go through and it's fucking Ozfest and everything we said is happening. And like they got Stuart from Mad TV there as like the the basically the hotel manager from Ghostbusters 1.
We need to see him in more stuff. He's great.
We do need to see him.
Michael McDonald.
That is him.
Somewhere
Again,
long ago.
you'll remember him, Andy, because he is one of the main antagonists in The Heat.
Oh. Sentimental fool.
There it is. They go through, they find another device. I think it might go off. I forget if this is the one that goes off. No, this one, no, whatever. They also smelled the other device that they found in the subway and all the pieces. Maybe they smell this one. I don't fucking remember. They go there. The fucking ghost gets out. There's a mannequin that chases Patty at one point. That was cool.
Now, again, this is what I'm talking about here, right? They split up and we get a moment of like something that's kind of scary, right? She's walking around. They're walking around these spooky hallways.
She again, another funny joke. She that's a room
Walks-
full of nightmares. I'm not going in.
Not going in there,
Walks
right?
away.
And then the realization when she looks back and the mannequin's standing there, and she's like, that wasn't there before, right? Please don't look at me. Please don't blink or whatever. And the mannequin like does that's scary. That's a legitimate like, oh my God, that's and Leslie Jones, I think, did a great job in that scene.
And so then it's a dragon. It's a ghost dragon. As the dragon goes, he flies around. He comes out. The Rocker's like, yeah, this is fucking cool. And the AV guy's like, that's not mine. And so the fucking thing's there, and it throws the lead singer, into some fucking speakers. And the Ghostbusters come out. And they're
The
like,
idea that anybody on stage wouldn't stop playing and put like if this movie's stupid and unrealistic and blah, 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 whatever. Because I know like whenever we point out unrealistic stuff, they're like, Andy, this movie's about busting ghosts. What are you talking about? And it's like, okay, but like I hate the sequence where there's a small moment where they kind of zoom in on Kristen Wiig and she's like, we gotta blast the fucking thing, and the guitarist is right next to her and he's like shredding on a solo. It's like this would not happen. Everybody would stop.
I appreciate like Idle Hands. Remember in Idle Hands when the Offspring's playing the Halloween dance and he comes up and he grabs, he's like, you gotta get out of here, my hand's gonna kill you all. And like the Offspring guy pushed on, all right, kid, you've had your fun. And the hand drops and rips his head as a scalp off. And everybody panics and runs. You're like, yes, that would be a legitimate way to escalate this situation.
Yeah, when pieces of architecture are being blasted off the ceiling and the walls and falling on people like that, people would start, this is a danger. Everybody's in danger right now. Get out. This is an emergency. Please leave. Evacuate.
And this is one of those things, Tim, you mentioned earlier of like, biblical proportions, a callback to like, a line from Ghostbusters. Again, there are several of those throughout. Mass hysteria obviously being, I think, the most obvious one, but other things they've thrown out there. There's another one here that like, I could be reading too much into it, of course, but for my eye, when the light falls here, it looks exactly like part of Dana Barrett's building that falls there. And I think it's very much like a callback. Another thing is they walk into there and like, oh, Art Deco, very nice from Ghostbusters 1. Like there's a bunch of that in here, again, peppered into it. Reminds you, of course, hey fans, we're one of you. We're with you. Remember all this cool stuff from your other movie? No, we're modernizing. It's a different universe here. Anyways, Dragon shows up. They want to fight it on stage, but they need to get out into the crowd so nobody will move. So like, all right, we'll do it your way, rockers. And they jump in and crowd surf. Melissa McCarthy crowd surfs. Leslie Jones jumps, falls, and I don't know if it's a race thing or a woman thing or a lady thing, but I like that joke still too. Yeah. I like that joke too. They get up. The ghost flying around. Eventually gets on top of Leslie Jones's shoulders. She tries to walk out. I forget how they get out of it.
And again, proving that Leslie Jones, I think, is the best in this, like because she's the only person kind of playing it sort of straight. It's on her. They're like, she's like, don't.
I'm real tired.
I'm really tired. I'm just gonna leave. They're like, you can't. Don't say anything. I thought that was a fun scene.
And so they bust this ghost here. I think I skipped around, but like there is the moment, Andy, you were talking about earlier, right, where they all pull their I guess what would have been a Neutrona wand. I don't know what they're calling them here necessarily. And they all blast off, and it's shooting off the screen and doing all that stuff, and they're wrapping them up and doing that. Their ghost trap, I think, sucks. Again, if we're talking about the tech and stuff, is just like a long propane tank that sucks in a ghost. Like, all right, whatever. I also meant to call this out earlier. Not earlier when Tim went to pee for 5 minutes and we somehow skipped 25 minutes of the movie. But when I thought, again, like this equipment not being cool and not feeling cool, like I don't know how many takes they have of it, but like when they do split up, like you were talking about earlier, Nick, Kate McKinnon pulls her stick and it immediately the cord gets tripped up, and that's like still the scene they use. It's like, it shit just doesn't look cool to have and be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
They bust this ghost though, and they walk out, and we get the very Ghostbusters 1984 thing, right? Of everybody filming, everybody celebrating. We get the news report of them doing it, that they stopped this ghost, and this is really fucking cool, right? And it was like, yeah. And so they're celebrating back at the Chinese food restaurant that we talked about when they couldn't afford the firehouse, like we talked about a while ago. And this is when Bill Murray shows up. And he's like, I'll be the judge of this. And it's this very weird scene because, of course, it does not make any sense to be in this film and was shoved in at the last second. And
I really thought he was going to show up and be like, I'll be the judges and be like, look, I believe y'all. Okay, what we need to do is you need to come back to my compound. I thought there was going to be a bigger sort of plot thing here with Bill Murray, and no, he's just kind of he's a denier.
He goads Kristen Wiig into releasing the ghost so he can see it or whatever. Everybody's like, don't do that. She does it. It drags him out the window and kills him.
This might be the worst cameo appearance I can ever think of in a movie.
Stupid as fuck.
Like it's definitely the worst big cameo appearance where it's like this is expected. We're all looking forward to how they're going to handle this, what they're going to do. And the fact that they did this and gave it as much time as they did, it's like, damn, guys, really, really dropped the ball.
And I mean, think about it too of like, again, how sad this movie is overall. And again, not even for Ghostbusters super fans like me, how sad it was to like think about. And I don't know if it was the same for you because again, like Bill Murray's my guy. Like we've talked about it, I think in Ghostbusters 1, right? Of like my family, my dad and mom obviously loved the SNL cast, the originals. They love Bill Murray. So I grew up and I still do love Bill Murray, right? But I'll never forget being in the audience for Zombieland. And they pulled up to that mansion and it said BM on the gate. I'm like, where are they going? Who is this going to be? And then the zombie gets up and it's Bill Murray. And then it's really Bill Murray.
Bill
and then he
Murray.
hangs out with him. And then him and Woody Harrelson run around dressed as Ghostbusters. And I was like, are you, to Tim's point, are you fucking kidding me with the most amazing cameo of all time? And now we are in Ghostbusters 2016, a movie that by this point you're like, this is not panning out for anybody. And then it's like, here comes Bill Murray. You're like, oh, like, what are we doing? And then he gets killed. You're like, that's how this, nobody thought to just turn him down. I'm sorry, Bill, the movie is too far gone. You had your chance to be a part of it. We can't put you in it.
Or just maybe leave it at the part where he's on the TV.
Sure.
Have to show up.
Good enough. Why? Yeah, he's out there.
To got him in there. He's wearing a funny hat. There you go. Bill wanted to wear that funny hat. That's all we have to say.
And again, the movie's paling into comparison. Like, and you're talking about hype and the limp reveal of the Ecto-1 in this movie, right? And never really getting into it. The limp, okay, cool. Like, we're the Ghostbusters and we're fighting something together and how cool it is. For me, even to the montage, right? Of like, we did it. We came out of our first big job. And like, think about like 1984 when they come out, right? No job is too big. No fee is too big. And it's Casey Kasem and it's that radio guy and it's newspapers and it's how's Elvis and have you seen him lately? And it's like, this is fucking awesome. And it's so building this world out and fleshing out. Because even Larry King, right? Of like, some people are claiming, the Eastern Seaboard's alive with all this. And like, are they the cause of it all? Or are they the solution to it? And like, there's like such a great fucking thing that happens. And granted, their Ghostbusters aren't blowing up that way, but it's still a awesome scene where this feels like, this is like, we're parroting that and we need to go quicker and we need to be done with things out of here or whatever. Anyways, though, they kill this guy. At which point, they have to talk to the policeman outside, and they make some jokes out there that I don't recall. And then in my version of the movie, right, this is where the boyfriend shows back up for no reason whatsoever. And then the what looked to be Secret Service guys show up. One of them from Upright Citizen Brigade, and one of them, the guy with the scar, Chalky White, who just passed away.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? Do you remember? I remember him from Boardwalk. I don't remember the actor's name. But yeah, we just lost him. They show up and you're like, oh man, Secret Service or whatever. No, they're the mayor's men. They're going to take you to meet the mayor. All right, we go to meet the mayor, and it's Andy
Michael
Garcia.
K. Williams.
Michael K. Williams. Thank you very much. They go to meet the mayor, and it's that other woman whose name we couldn't remember too. And I forget what stupid inane conversation they were having before everybody walked in, but they were.
It made me laugh. Maybe.
What was it? I remember being like a weird, like, okay, that's a weird thing.
It's just a weird aside that has nothing, like a weird kind of like, no, you can't do that, mayor. But I forgot exactly what Cecily was telling him.
Okay. And so then, and like what we talked about before, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, we know this is happening. You need to stay out of it. Let professionals handle it. We're gonna have to go on the media and tell everybody that you're full of shit and like, you can't do this anymore. But you can still do it, but don't do it. But you could do it, but don't. They're like, this is a weird plot point, but okay. They do that and they leave. And then we go back, and here's where you want, Nick. All right. What Holtzman does is pours herself into making more weapons for the girls. And so this is where you get another alleyway of, cool, now we have more crazy ghost weapons.
Clearly, by the way, just a continuation of the first alleyway sequence that they were like, this is too long. And then the editor was like, you know what? Let's throw another sequence in there. This will make sense, right? We got to show the other gizmos that we put out there so that when we get to the end, people aren't completely thrown off guard by the fact they have a ghost chomper and a ghost fist.
Yeah, they have the ghost fist and the ghost weed whacker, chipper. Wood chipper. Yeah.
Some of these are cool. Grenades. I think the grenade's cool, and I think the plasma whips are cool. But the chippers seems weird and unnecessary and
That's the Ratchet and Clank weapon you would never use, Tim.
100%. Thank you, Andy. You got there. You made my point.
They do in
They use
the
them at
finale,
the
yeah.
end to get
They
through
do?
the parade of ghosts,
Yeah.
so they can get
When
into
they
the
get
hotel.
into my favorite thing of like, God, I like the end of this movie, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just painful to watch, I feel, and I don't enjoy it. But it is the idea of like, for some reason, I forget what the line is, but it's like, they're making New York go back in time or something like that. And so it's all these like classic Times Square. Like, here's where it's like we're overreaching beyond the fact of, all right, there's all these nods to you for something you'd like if you're a Ghostbusters fan, including, in Times Square, that's a big Twinkie being one of the ads. But then when the ghosts come and they turn the parade thing, they change Times Square to all these classic Times Square things in movies and references. So there's something you could see. And then on top of that, they're like, also, let's put up Superman 64 fog so that there's just shit. They're just always surrounded by fog. We don't have to worry about anything. And then they're like, also, let's not have them trap ghosts. Let's just, now they're wood chipping them or they are literally just throwing them at points with their
Busting them.
What is the fucking point? Like, what is going on? And again, I'm with Andy on this one. I'm not trying to get into the idea of, okay, cool, it's a movie, let it go. It doesn't have to make sense. It's just back to this whole thing of like, what are the stakes? What is the point?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Where it's just
I lost the whole thread at this point of the movie, and it was just a clusterfuck of ideas at the end.
And what sucks about that is a lot of things you just said, Greg, I really love the elements of. None of them are earned. And if you work backwards from it, if you just walk in and just saw that scene and be like, cool, I wonder how they set this up, you would have never bet the movie preceding it is what led to it. Because the idea of it going to like the 1920s or whatever, Times Square, I think that's actually really rad and kind of giving a little bit more understanding of like these are ghosts through many years and all stuff like in New York. Very cool. Very cool. But yeah, just not cool in this movie. Not cool how they build it up, and because they don't build it up, it just kind of happens.
That's my thing is if early on they were like, we're not even trapping the ghost. Like they keep saying we need to trap a ghost to bring it here so that we can show the world the ghost exists. All right, cool. You know what I mean? A little bit different than what, the Ghostbusters were trying to do and whatever. And so if it was that like, cool, now we're just going to eliminate ghosts. If we wrestle them with the proton packs long enough, they're exhausted and lay on the ground and we can get around it. If we can wood chip them and kill them, we can blow them to smithereens. Like, okay, cool. If we're establishing that's what we're doing, but we're not. We just get there and that's what starts happening. You're like, well, why are we getting through any of this shit? What are we doing?
I just feel like that, like, again, this scene would have been cool if, like, weapons made sense in the world that they had shown us. And so far, they've just caught a ghost in the can thing. So it was like, why are they... Like, all of these things, like, I don't understand how they're going to be used. And then later when we see it, it's like, oh, they don't either. Like, they don't know how to use them. And they just put them in here because they thought it looked cool. And it just sucks.
And so from there, we get more research, right? Where eventually they figure out the key lines. They're like, oh, okay, wait, put everything on the map, figure it out. We got to figure out where, we're playing catch up. We need to play offense, not defense. They track it back to, hey, it is the museum, or not the museum, I'm sorry, the hotel that, again, we talked about already when we introduced Rowan originally. Remember everybody when he was there and he got the call, Tim was in the bathroom. And then, of course, the same thing where, Patty had seen him. She knew what he looked like, all that stuff, right? Because she had seen him when he went in the subway and he put up the bomb. We remember seeing that. Of
course. Yeah, we talked
and then, of course, now we're there where what's there? They Google, it's the hotel. Luckily, there's a photo of the current staff on there. And Patty's like, that's the guy. That's the weird guy who was telling me that the fourth, level of circles or fourth apocalypse would leave us last or whatever the fuck. So they go over there. This is where you get Annie Potts cameo, right? She's on the phone, receptionist Janine, of course, right? Talking to them, like, what do you want kind of thing or whatever. Like, okay, well, we need this. Where's the weird guy? Oh, he's downstairs. They go downstairs. They find Rowan there. He's got all these, again, we already talked about these crazy mirror things he has with all the ghosts in them. He's got this crazy setup there or whatever. And they're like, stop it. And he keeps almost doing it. They keep stopping him. They keep stopping him real abruptly. And he's like, no. He's like, it's up, it's over. Aaron's like, I used to be like you, people not believe me or bullying me or whatever the fuck. And he's like, oh, okay, well then, and I forget what they say. And he's like, nah, I guess there's nobody thing. He kills himself. He electrocutes himself. He dies. Police show up. Holtzman shuts everything down. All is well that ends well, right? Ghostbusters win. This is another big win for everybody.
Save the day.
Yeah, exactly. So when they're leaving,
which I think all of this is a pretty neat element. I don't think it's executed super well, but I I like the idea of the villain being like, I need to do this in order to see through my full plan. You know what I
I
mean?
agree too. I think it's a really
Agreed.
cool idea because it's like unstoppable once he becomes a ghost.
Yeah,
That was
it's a
creative.
cool storytelling element. I just don't love how everything is executed. And it does remind me of a TikTok short that I saw earlier of a guy, some guy on a beach who was like, I'm a ghost, and he's like, wait, you're a ghost? He's like, why are you wearing trunks? Why are you in the water? He's like, when you die, you just got to wear this. You got to this is just what you wear.
Yeah, great TikTok. You gotta wear. And he's like, "What is he saying?" He's really not saying anything useful.
Yeah. And so
I
it
just
reminds
watched
you
that
of
yesterday.
it reminds you of this guy of like, yeah, like he's dead, and now I guess he's got to wear the clothes that I mean, maybe not, because now he's just a different apparition, and he just kind of becomes or Chris Hemsworth, the other Hemsworth. I said
We're not
Liam.
even there yet, man. Right. So what
Yeah.
happens is, all's well that ends well. They
Tim, will you go
leave,
to the
and the
restroom
mayor's
anytime soon,
person
or-
there, and the mayor person is like, "Oh yeah, thanks for saving the day. We're still gonna throw you under the bus though, and say this is a big lie." And so they do that, and that leads to Erin feeling very dejected, and she goes home to sulk. The other three Ghostbusters go back to the Chinese food restaurant. Erin starts looking through the book they found, because it was her book that the Rowan was using, and then she finds all sorts of notes in there and stuff, and his whole plan and very detailed diagrams talking about powering the lines, and then blowing everything up and letting all the goose loose.
His detailed notes go from like notes on the margins
Yeah.
to just drawings of what's gonna happen. Suddenly he's storyboarding the damn thing, and it's like, all right.
And so Erin panics and has to find the mayor. She figures out where the mayor is. I forget who tells her where the mayor is, but that's what's happening. And then meanwhile, back at the not firehouse.
So this dude, sorry, real quick. This dude kills himself and just assumes that he can be a ghost.
Oh, he knows how it works.
That's a real.
It's a risk, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big bet. Also, if anyone had started to disassemble this giant contraption that he built in the basement of a hotel, like he would
Crime
have
scene.
fucked, right?
Can't do it. Crime scene. Can't take it apart. Crime.
No fingerprints. Gil Grissom, CSI Vegas.
And so
dancing.
Abby gets left alone in the Chinese food restaurant when the other two go out for food, and then the door gets jingle jangled, and then she panics and runs to the bathroom and locks herself in, which I thought was an interesting change for a Ghostbuster. Scared of the ghosts that seemed to be scaring her. It wasn't so much that there was a home invasion going on, as much clearly something spiritual is happening, supernatural is happening, and rather than grab any of her equipment, she runs and hides. Didn't like that.
Didn't think about that. Yeah.
She gets in there though, and Rowan comes out of the faucet, hits her in the face, and she starts getting ectoplasm out of her ears and nose. Again, I did laugh when she looks in the mirror finally, and he's like, "Whoa, actually, I'm sorry. I didn't expect it to be this severe." And then the whole thing fills with slime. We cut back probably to Erin, who runs to find the mayor and runs. And again, hey, did you like Ghostbusters 1? Here's a throwback to Louis Tully. Tavern on the Green, banging on the glass. Somebody let me in. And then, as you were saying earlier, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Funny you're here.
No.
100%.
I'm not with you on the first one.
And then it's a funny joke, but I feel like they diffuse it totally by being like, she's a scientist, she shouldn't be this dumb, kind of thing, where it's just like,
well, not only that, but the mayor is talking about how he doesn't really understand that a woman wasn't sawed in half in a magic trick before that. And you're like, is he an idiot?
You're
What
right.
the fuck is
You're right.
right now?
It starts right there, and like I totally forgot about that. But like to me,
no, it's two different
that
women.
totally
no,
is
it
like
was one woman. I was there. I saw it. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah,
That's
like,
the
how is
conversation we were
this-
talking about. Right?
yeah. How is like someone so moronic? Like why would they?
Like you
create
can't have
God,
a character that's moronic and then also recognizes the moronicness in the other character that's happening. Like it doesn't make like you're either super smart and get it,
Super
or
right, Nick.
you're a
You nailed
complete
it. That's
fucking
it.
dolt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh, so bad. Is what it does.
Kristen Wiig gets in there, tries to explain that this was all part of the plan. We have to shut power down in the entire city. You have to evacuate the city. This is also the Jaws joke I liked. And he's like, they finally run over to get her, and he's like, this took far too long. And then she grabs the table and is yanking, and she's yelling at everybody out of the city, evacuate, yada. And so then back at the firehouse, I'm gonna keep calling it. Sorry, the Chinese food restaurant. Patty and Holtzman come back. And Patty's like, we got you a sandwich because we know you get testy when you're hungry or whatever. She comes out acting all weird. Abby does. She immediately picks up a pipe. Holtzman like, oh, you found my pipe. Or you like my pipe? I found that today. I'm gonna use. She just starts smashing the equipment. Oh, they run over there. They stop her. They get into a very bad 2016 physical altercation in a comedy, as bad as it always looks when people on fucking wires getting thrown around doing shit. The funny thing when she turns her head around, like Exorcist or whatever.
So
Eventually,
you get real strong when you're
Possessed.
for
Yeah,
sure.
they showed that. Well, I guess they will show it
Andy.
later, but yeah.
Andy, you're a member of Conjuring and Review. You've seen this multiple times. The strength that the possessed people have, right?
Oh, how could I forget? That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
My
Just
bad.
making sure.
Yeah.
Andy, which one of those was your
When-
favorite in Conjuring and Review? Which one was your favorite?
Oh gosh, 2 through 7. There's a good run in there.
What about La Llorona? Huh?
Huh? Oh no. It's so fictional. You know, it's not
Gotcha.
based on true events. You know.
And again, I do like the joke of the power of Patty compels you, and she slaps her and get the ghost out. Whatever. The ghost comes out, flies outside. They go to look, and then Kevin rolls up in his own jumpsuit, his own little motorbike Ecto 2, and his own little helmet. Again, you want to sell some fucking toys?
But like, what's the? He just decided that day he was going to become a Ghostbuster. You know, it's like, or is this?
He told him.
He did. All right.
Yeah,
cool,
he has a line where he's like, "Oh, yeah, I decided. I got good news. I've decided to be a Ghostbuster." And Melissa McCarthy's like, "You're too beautiful. You're beautiful, but I don't have time to deal with this. Right? Tell you all the reasons. That's dumb right now. Maybe it was just in my movie. I don't know, but it was there.
All right.
But yeah, even then, Kevin, yes, it's a 24-hour decision. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I wish there was some lead up to it, but again, maybe that wasn't in my version of the movie.
No, it was. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. The ghost taking over. Oof, God, I don't know any of these people's names. The scene in the bathroom
Patty.
where Patty. No, not Patty. The other girl.
Abby.
Yeah, Abby gets like you were saying. She gets like he looks in the mirror and says something that wasn't in mine either. And I kind of wish.
Oh, really?
I wish I'd seen the extended version. Because that does seem
You
like.
don't. But it's the same idea. Like there's a couple
Hard to
good
believe they
jokes.
cut
in there.
something out of this film.
It's 44 minutes longer.
It's actually, I think it's 17 minutes longer.
Hell yeah.
Fuck.
And so, okay, now the ghost possesses Kevin. And he's like, "Oh, I'm Rowan or whatever. I'm gonna finish the plan." They're like, "What? No!" And he races over to the hotel. And
Worked out.
yeah, exactly. I really should have worked out, right? And Kevin, we know that's a fucking lie. You waste your time. You know what I mean? You want to work out that much? Guess what? Everybody pumping the iron right now. You're not going to be Thor. Only one person gets to be Thor. Don't worry about it. All right. He goes down there. He executes the plan. Does the thing. Hits the buttons. Whatever the fuck. Oh, also does the. I again like the line where he runs into the guy from the werewolf movie from Ubisoft now. But the two cops that are there, he's like, "Oh, it's an active crime scene. You can't come in here." Handsome Clark Kent. And he's like,
War guy.
or whatever he calls him, because of
Milana
the
Vaintrub's
because
in
the
here,
glasses
right, too?
looking good.
Oh, the cops.
Oh
They
yeah,
were
Andy,
protecting-
she is in the werewolf thing. Yeah,
But she's also in this too.
is she really?
There's a small snippet of a like we are getting a
The T-Mobile AT&T person girl.
yeah.
Yeah, she when ghosts come out of the subway after Kevin does all this, she's in a shot.
Yeah, she like kind of busts open the doors like, oh shit, like it's just kind of like, oh, the public is freaking out. But I was like, oh, that's Milana, fucking AT&T girl.
And so he
But
does all that.
it's-
Ghosts get released.
Greg, that's interesting. The cops were protecting the crime scene. So
Yeah.
you nailed it on that one. Nailed it on that
Yeah.
one.
I'm here for you, buddy. Don't
This
worry.
guy's smart, yeah.
He releases the thing. Ghosts go everywhere. The city goes into night. There's, it shoots green up. It's a beautiful day. It shoots green up. It becomes night. Everybody's panicking, running around. There's ghosts everywhere. Aaron's on the street trying to get back to Chinatown. She flags a cab down. It's Dan Aykroyd. She's like, "Where are you?" He's like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "I need to get to Chinatown." He's going, "Oof, I'm going 1 block short of there." Which is a great fucking line. I know all you kids these days with your Ubers and shit. You don't remember how terrible it was getting a taxi
Fucking
and
miserable.
having to argue about where you were going. Oof, I wish I could. I'm going 1 block short, so I won't take you there. And she's like, "Oh, but there's all this stuff." And he's like, "Oh, what are you talking about? This is just a stage 5 free flowing, whatever he says."
I don't
And
do
she
that. I don't do that. And I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Get the fuck out of here. Terrible.
Pulls out.
Terrible.
Pulls out. That's it.
Terrible.
He's gone. That's it. Meanwhile, the Ghostbusters are back at HQ. They got to go save Kevin. They gear up. They get in the Ecto. They drive off that way. we're on different tracks now with everybody, right? So the Ghostbusters then get to Times Square. They can't go any further. They get out of the car. They start walking. What happens? Slimer. They get to a hot dog cart. What's in there? Comes out. It's Slimer. Everybody, your favorite ghost is back to eat some hot dogs and steal the Ecto-1. So he gets in the Ecto-1. He drives off.
They say don't shoot at it because it's a nuclear accelerator on its back.
We got a nuclear
All
accelerator
the
on top of
scenes
that
we
car.
had earlier that we could have set this up, where Kate McKinnon's running through the litany of all the equipment they have in this movie, and this is the scene they set this up in the third act. That's fine.
We got to stop that. I guess we should run. They run that way. Aaron's still trying to get there. Maybe this is where the Dan Aykroyd scene happens, but it doesn't really matter. Eventually, the Ghostbusters are there. There's ghosts everywhere, and they're like, "Whoa, look! It's the 1920s Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade." And then the balloons see, and they start coming. So they're zapping the balloons now, and the balloons are starting to pop, but it's not popping. And then guess what, everybody? It's a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man balloon. You remember this guy, right? He's back, and he's big, but he's different. Yeah, Nick.
I do like. There's one line in here that I like, where Melissa McCarthy's like, I actually like a husky man with little facial hair. I think that's okay. And then he's like, oh shit, he looked at me. I like eyes with him.
Stave of Marshmallow Man gets there. They can't pop him in time. He smushes them to the ground and kind of goes. Ruh, 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 ruh.
Then Aaron kills him with a pocket knife.
Yeah. Did your movie have the scene about the pocket knife?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Just
before
making sure.
earlier. But it's just like,
They made sure to set
isn't
that
it a
up.
ghost? Isn't it? I understand that they set that up. I understand that. But like,
set it up, Kevin.
so ghosts can be stabbed and then they pop, and that's the end of that ghost.
Well, not only that,
Well,
but don't you think the neutrino
these-
wand on her would be able to pop that balloon?
A lot of the balloons, Kevin, were in fact, from like their astral projections of balloons from the 1920s or whatever. But the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man balloon was a real balloon. It turned out that had been possessed. He was the one balloon that had been a real balloon.
Yeah, they were having a parade at that point too.
And they were popping the other ones with the beam that you would assume would pop the beam right away. But it also seems like the beams aren't as dangerous to human beings this time around. You know what I mean? Because like Melissa McCarthy definitely would have zapped herself, and even when she didn't zap herself, she was getting wild in that alleyway.
Oh,
and getting
yeah.
close to zapping other people.
Greg, I was like, this is a dangerous game right here. We got to be
Yeah.
careful. You got to just turn that off. What are you doing?
And so, anyways, though, Aaron pops it with a pocket knife. She's like, I got this pocket knife you gave me earlier, and I forgot to tell you in review that I had a pocket knife, and then we got a pocket knife. And I'm like, yeah, pocket knife. This is just fucking great. And so now it's like, all right, cool, this is going, and then I'll toss it in here, right? The cops and the military are there, and they're like, what the fuck is all these ghosts going on about? And Kevin comes down, but he's possessed by Rowan. And he's like, what the fuck, guys? It's me, Kevin. They're like, man, that man's beautiful. And he's like, yeah, let's dance. And you're like, what? And he makes them all fucking start dancing. And it's like,
The only good thing about this scene is that like they knew it was bad. And there's no way they're gonna make us sit through an extended version of this in the credit. There's no way they would do that, right, guys?
No, they wouldn't do that.
But then they did. They did do that.
my favorite is when I
thought
got
it
to the
was
credits.
hilarious.
I got to the credits, and Jen had been talking to me at the end of the movie, and the credits starts, and she's just like, "Why are they dancing?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Wait, when did you fall asleep?" And she's like, "I fell asleep." I'm like, "Oh man, okay, yeah, you missed a whole bunch of shit. Don't worry about it."
I love fast forwarding through the credits and be like, Sigourney Weaver, what? Like I saw her for a split second. I gotta go. Why?
It wasn't worth it, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, as soon as this movie ended, I shut it down and I went to
Threw
sleep.
your Xbox out the window.
For me, it was the thing of like, I haven't used disc-based media in forever, right? And so like trying to figure out how to fucking fast forward on the PlayStation 5 on a Blu-ray, I was like, and so then I ended up skipping it. I'm like, I turned to Jen, I'm just like, at the end she says Zool, she hears Zool. I'm like, I'm not jumping through the hoops to figure out how to fucking make this go again. Anyways, so yeah, they all fucking dance. The Ghostbusters get closer, but now all the ghosts start coming. So they got pilgrim ghosts and random ass other like revolutionary ghosts. And this is where it's happening where, they're using the chipper, they're using grenades. Kate McKinnon's like, I forgot my news toys, and reaches down and pulls out the dual guns and licks them and starts shooting. And to Tim's point of like, out of context, just seeing this, like if this was just like released out of the blue, you'd be like, holy fuck, this looks awesome.
I think this looks
really
great.
cool.
I love the weapons. I think they look cool. I think the choreography is awesome. Her delivery of "Let's Go" is fucking so great for her character. It's hype as hell. The score backs it up. It's the best moment of the score in this entire movie. There was about a 30-second period here. I'm like, this rocks.
It goes out. They kill a bunch
I
of things.
I think it all falls apart with the fact that like it devolves to a lot of them just flipping these ghosts, and I guess that's what's killing him.
It
totally weakens the moment.
If you would have shown me this sight unseen for the rest of the movie, I was like, oh, they're doing something different in this Ghostbusters universe, that these ghosts can just be wiped out. They don't, you know, no, that's never explained. That's never done. It's just how it is, whatever. So now we get to
I would
confront
argue
Kevin.
they did set it up with the fact that they created weapons and the fact that they showed all those weapons off multiple times. I'm not saying that this was good. I'm just saying it was set up in this movie. This is not the original movies. They are not necessarily trying to catch them. They tried to catch one to be able to prove it. That was the point of catching. Otherwise, they were creating weapons, and they showed that here.
Yeah, but still, I don't think that like whipping something, like flipping it over, kills it. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's my point. Is like it's so weird. Disconnect. Oh, like, what are you doing? Like I'm on the Amazon version of the movie. I jumped to 132. Right? They've beaten all the ghosts and are walking towards Kevin. The ghosts are just laying on the ground. So they've established that ghosts can just get exhausted. They've established that their equipment sucks the energy of ghosts. Like, there's one line I need at any point in this movie of like, cool, we captured them. Great. Now that we've done that, we know that we can do this to never have to worry about a ghost again. Like, I just don't get what they're doing. So are these ghosts dead or are they coming back? If these ghosts would be wood shipped, would they be gone forever? If they were hit with a grenade, would they be gone forever? Or would they be exhausted and come back?
I think we're looking at ghost corpse on the floor, which just
killed
doesn't
them
make
again.
any sense. Yeah.
Now these ghosts are going to come after us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you know what's really important is in like 40 seconds, we're going to see Slimer driving the Ecto-1 with a gang of ghosts on there. And
he's
then
having a hell of a time.
Just having a good time. That's what we wanted.
Like Miss Pac-Man.
She's
Yeah,
Smiler.
exactly. And again, remember,
the Statue of Liberty with an NES Advantage controller.
Right.
Just
And it was dumb
with
then.
the mood slime. Yeah, that was dumb too.
Yeah, we all said it.
But remember too, in this situation, now we had just established that the Ecto-1 was a big enough deal that the three Ghostbusters had to chase it when they saw it because it had a nuke on it. Now it drives by with two Slimers and they're like, he's having the best time of his life. Let's go inside, talk to Kevin. Like, all right, whatever. Again, what are the fucking stakes of this film? What are we trying to do anymore? I don't understand what is anybody trying to accomplish.
Also, I want to say that this next scene, once they go in there and it's the like shot from inside the hotel facing the doors, one of the worst map paintings ever behind them, which is just, it's all the people pointing, but it looks like they got a low poly screenshot of it.
Oh, really? I didn't notice.
Yeah, it doesn't look good out there. Yeah, for sure. I don't think it looks. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't look good. Yes.
They have like.
They go in there. They confront Kevin. Kevin's got a portal at his feet. He's doing all this shit. He's Chris Hemsworth. He's bopping around. They can't stop him. Eventually gives up Chris Hemsworth. He looks really horrible, right? And they're like, oh, would you like? He looks something cuter, and he makes himself into the Ghostbusters logo. And he takes that ghost and makes it into a bigger ghost or whatever. And then he comes out and he's like, oh my god, he's huge. And they're like, oh god, we got to get out of here. I want to see this.
This is a Casper reference, right?
I thought the ghosts to like a terrifying version of it that we've known. I thought that was a cool little flip.
I agree.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
And I like the texture of it. I like that it looks like it's wearing something, but then it's like glowing underneath it. I thought all that stuff was really cool.
And the 2D animation beforehand, I thought was really cool as well.
Yeah, the 2D animation I liked a lot. Yeah.
Why did he put a bow tie on? I didn't.
He had to do something with the red.
I think the red went to the bow tie. I think the no ghost thing went.
I thought that was a Casper reference. I don't know why I thought like, oh, they're doing a Casper friendly.
There's a lot of bow tie subtlety in this because Aaron wears a bow tie a lot in this as well.
Well, also he wears a bow tie too, right before he dies. Am I imagining that?
Yeah, Andy might have been imagining that.
I just want to ask: does Casper wear a bow tie?
I thought,
like,
he doesn't.
Really? Oh, are you thinking Richie Rich? Casper before
he's thinking of Richie Rich. Yeah.
Googling Casper the Ghost image search. Not
one bow tie. Not even fucking close.
I swear to God. I swear to God, when he became the logo, I was like, huh? When he became the logo, I'm like, oh, okay. This is a meta joke about the logo of the Ghostbusters. That's funny. And then when they were like, can you be like a cuter version? And then grabs whatever red thing from the no-go stuff and then made it a bow tie. I was like, oh, now it's Casper because it like I could have sworn Leslie Jones kept saying, we wanted you to be more of a friendly version. Like I thought that was like what they were playing at. What the fuck? That's crazy. I just Mandela affected myself. Wild.
It's okay. Don't worry. You're fine.
Wait, real quick, Andy,
Please
I
go
looked
for it.
into it. Richie Rich does in fact use a red bow tie. So
There it is. There it is. Paul Feig, I'm right there with you, brother. I'm ready
That
to
was the
believe
thing,
you.
wasn't it? Simpsons, right? Where Bart's like, "Did you ever think that Casper was just the ghost of Richie Rich?" And holds up the two things. They're the same drawing, but just like one's dead, one's alive. Interesting. Whatever. Also worth pointing out, of course, that for any Ghostbuster fans out there, the ghost in the No Ghost logo actually has a name. It's named Moogly, of course. So arguably he's Moogly here when he does all this. But
Where
Wait,
did that
but-
come from?
Okay, but is that
I
like some?
believe Aykroyd and Reitman back in the day, just like whatever.
I thought that was some
shooting shit and said that was his name on set or whatever.
That sounds like some revisionist thing that George Lucas or J.K. Rowling would do after the fact and be like, "Oh,
No,
that's
no, it was not, it was
Moogly."
in the time, but it's never been a thing of like, what's the? I'm not sure there is a fucking question, but I don't think there's no
I'd like
movie
to-
has ever mentioned it.
I'd like to
Or
add that.
Slimer.
I was gonna say I'd like to add that if I put a red bow tie on my Oogie Boogie costume, like Dead Ringer,
do it.
Dead Ringer, you know what I mean?
So true.
Now, what's interesting, Tim, is you're correct, of course. Slimer's never in Ghostbusters 1 and 2 has never been called Slimer, but he does get credited as Slimer. So
He
just a
does?
heads up that he is.
He absolutely does. Yeah, he was only called Slimer in the real Ghostbusters cartoon. No movie is he named.
Anyways, God, Rowan gets really big because, of course, what is a tenet of Ghostbusters? They need to fight something big or have something big at the end of the movie, right? They need. I don't care if it's Stay Puft or Statue of Liberty, we got to have it, and so we'll have it be
yeah.
this giant version.
I was at my stepdad's house and we were watching the movie and there was something big on screen. So we got to do something like, again, it just feels like I heard that things get big in the movie. So let's just do that. I heard through the grapevine that's what people like about these Ghostbusters movies.
I thought that was an anecdote. I got really confused on you.
Me
having
too.
a
I was like,
stepdad.
damn, this is a cool story. I like when
I want you to know my hand is fucking up right now because I was about to have my mind fucking blown. I was gonna be like, "Are you about to tell me your parents aren't together?" I would have been like, "Are you?" And then the way you said it, I'm like, "Wait a second." For years, like I would have been like, "This is news." You're fucking telling me this is something that had happened years ago?
No.
Oh my god, you scared me. Don't
Just
do
a little
that.
aside, just an aside, you know.
Can't take that. All right. So, anyways, guys, let's just fucking try to finish. Rowan is huge, and he's walking around New York, and they're blasting him, but it's not working. And they got the big old portal to the other side where the barrier's falling apart. And again, remember they had mentioned real briefly, Holitzer, of like, hey, you know, don't let the streams touch or whatever. And like, oh, now we need to cross the streams. So, right, of course we do. We could all die, and our molecules explode in the most painful death way. But let's do it. We got to do it. So they go over there. It's we're doing it. We're the Ghostbusters. And then when they link them together and they go in there and then they go and you're watching, it's like, man, this is not fucking epic. This is not an epic move at all. You know what I mean? Like when they cross them the first one and they're like, oh, it doesn't work. Like, oh, that's why it wasn't epic because this isn't the big thing. And so what do they hear? They hear Slimer and Slimerette driving back there and they're like, oh shit, again, nuke on the thing. This is great. Bore on the floor, nuke on the thing. They're like, all right, cool. And so like, the car comes at him and like, let's fucking make them go our way. So they start zapping and doing the thing to do it. And they drive in and the fucking thing goes off and like, aim for the silver things. And I'm like, with these weapons that we haven't been able to aim, sounds good. And they blast it and they shoot it and they shoot the silver things. And the thing goes in there and it explodes and it goes from green to red like Christmas. And it's like, yeah, great. And like the two Slimers fly out of it. And then everybody's like, yeah, great. And then start getting sucked in. And then it's like, okay, cool. And then Rowan, he starts getting sucked in, but he's really big now. So as he comes in, he grabs stuff and they zap him in the balls, of course. Hit him right in the dick or whatever.
Oh, I love that.
Shit joke. Really,
Yeah.
Andy?
No, of course not.
Okay,
No.
good. Why? Hey, yeah, Andy's getting us with these deliveries today, guys. I don't fucking know who even is this guy. Actor
No,
number one.
that's one of those where you're just like,
Like, oh, easiest thing you could have
I
done.
had to
Great.
save let's keep the dick joke for the end. That's like the one that everybody came for. Like the audience.
Well, you gotta stay for the dick joke.
It got to end strong. Yeah.
Shout out to Jameson S in the live chat for my bore on the floor reference. Rowan gets sucked in finally, but guess what? At the last second, he grabs Abby. He gets sucked through. He takes Abby with him into the other side. They're like, oh,
Steve's like, take her.
Yeah. Don't need it.
what are we gonna do? And that's when Kristen Wiig's like, there's this winch on the ground. She grabs the winch on the ground, bore on the floor, got him over there. She ties herself in. She jumps through. She goes through. She grabs Abby. I think she zaps Rowan again to get him to release. Grabs Abby. The building is reconstructing as it goes down, of course, because we cannot destroy the Ghostbusters cannot destroy a skyscraper in New York. And so like they do that and reform that, and then it's reformed. It's completely reformed, and everybody's outside like,
God
oh
damn,
man, they're
all dumb as
fucking
hell.
dead. And they get yanked out, and guess what? Kristen Wiig and Abby are back, and their hair is all white, and they have a moment like, oh, ha 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 ha.
Dude,
And
is
they
it
went
a
to the other
wig?
side.
I don't know. Wig in now with Scarpy. No, Nick, this fucking like cover up the fucking seam
Didn't
on Melissa
try.
McCarthy. What kind of budget does this movie have
They were
when
like,
you
"We
know that
need-"
people are going to watch this, Nick, on HD TVs because it's past the year
Andy-
2010?
Well, I'm pretty
Andy,
sure Kristen Wiig was actually wearing a wig the entire time as well. But
No, but
I
I'm just
digress.
saying, like, when Melissa
Her
McCarthy
last name is Wig.
like the fact that Melissa McCarthy, when like her wig is very, very present and they are very close up on her face,
They
and
didn't try.
you just see the skin like peeling off from the fake, like how they didn't get it to.
See, Andy, this
It's
is how
so
we know
bad.
that big wig is winning because they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Now
Exactly.
they're coming out of the shadows.
Yeah, exactly. They're so happy with just like committing crimes in public because nobody's ever going to call them out.
Brazen
But we
is
are.
what they call it. Brazen.
Yeah.
This is one that I don't remember. So, but at this point in the theater in 2016, I would have been so broken that I understand not committing any of this to memory. But they have their whole thing of like, we did it, yay! And then Kevin shows back up and he's talking to them. And is this in the version you guys saw last time?
Yeah.
She takes, you don't deserve this sandwich, and takes it and throws it away. And then they toss the sandwich back to him and he eats it. And then he's like, can I get an apple? They toss him an apple. And then can I get a muffin? They toss him, oh, can I get a muffin? Can I get a water? And they're like, how are you doing this? Are you magic? I was like, again, show me this scene. You'd be like, man, this movie's going to be great. I was like, this is a funny fucking movie. That's weird as hell. But like,
Was that in our version? Because I don't remember
The
that at
sandwich
all.
was in our version. He goes,
The
"Little help,"
sandwich.
and someone throws the sandwich
Got
back
it,
and he
yeah.
eats it, and then it cut, which is
oh,
good.
in ours, it was a little help, and he gets the sandwich back, and they're like, how did you do? And she throws it again. He's like, can I get one of those muffins or a drink or whatever? And he gets a bottle of water. And can I get a muffin? And gets a muffin out. They keep throwing shit at him because he's just so handsome. They'll give him whatever he wants.
It's that escalating comedy. It's when Groot keeps coming back with objects that are not the thing
Yeah,
that
but
you
that
want
was
Groot to
funny.
come back with. And it's
This was funny. This hit very hard. And it was one of those. It was the perfect escalation. I'm with Andy on it.
Wow, yeah.
And so then we go to a bar where the Ghostbusters they're
that?
celebrating. Holtzman finally shows human emotion as if this would be a big deal for this character that's been all over the place. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it just doesn't work. Of course, like, you know, we talked about it earlier. Like, oh, she's gonna be the Egon character, and like one of the reasons Egon I think has standout moments in Ghostbusters 1 more than Ghostbusters 2, right, is those breaks from him being I collect spores, molds, and funguses, right? Like, sorry, Venkman, I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought. Like things like that. Whereas like this would have meant more if she was like emotionless the entire movie or whatever, but like she's fucking weird and cool and horrible all at once. Like, I don't know. Mayor's assistant shows up. She's like, thanks for doing this for us. You know, blah, blah, blah. We'd like you to go a little bit bigger. So we are here at your service. Anything you guys want. Anything we want. Because, of course, remember, we had talked about it when Tim was in the bathroom really quickly. When they went to the firehouse for the first time. Like, this is perfect. This is great. We love it.
We breezed
They were like,
over
it's
it,
way
yeah.
too much money. Yeah, well, we did it. We said it word for word and then have it. So now they go back to the firehouse. They've got the firehouse. Yay. And then what happens? A new hearse rolls up. Out steps the one and only Ernie Hudson. You know him as Winston Zeddemore from the first two Ghostbusters, and he is Patty's uncle. He's down, you know, the Ecto-1's destroyed, of course, went through another dimension. He's down at hearse, and guess what? He's got 2 funerals this weekend, or 4 funerals, or whatever the fucking way.
the
And they
best
start,
of the cameos.
they start bickering about that a little bit, and that's the credits begin. There's more to it, right? So then
And when I say the best of the cameos, it wasn't even that awesome. It was just better than the other ones.
Benny comes to the new firehouse, right, where they have it all set up with the again. Let's have a new take on it and new everything. Same fucking lockers. They have their jumpsuits hanging out of it. You know, everybody's working, doing their thing. Yeah, Benny gives her way too many wontons this time, right? Like you can't. I need a normal amount of wontons or whatever. You know. Chris Hemsworth is answering the phones. Everybody's having fun there. Kristen Wiig Holtzman has developed a giant bear trap now to catch ghosts under the tutelage of her professor, Sigourney Weaver, whose name I forget now. And like this whole thing could fall apart and yada, yada, yada. And they laugh about how they could all die based on what she's built and done and all this different shit. And then, is that the last one before the big one? No, they go upstairs to look out from the top of the firehouse and see all of New York lit up with thank you GB, thank you Ghostbusters, we love the Ghostbusters, yada yada fucking yada. Then you get Ghostbusters Answer the Call. Then, Tim, you get the recap. That's where you get the recap of everybody dancing, just dancing to kill you over and over again, dancing and dancing.
Chris Hemsworth's head just keeps spinning around and the credits start moving.
Terrible. God, it's so
All
bad. Right. And then, yeah, the very, 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 very end of the movie, of course, you get the thing of all the Ghostbusters working in one of the areas of the firehouse. And Patty be like, wait a second, guys, I've been listening to this EVP. And she goes, what's Zool? What does Zool mean or something like that, right? And then that's it. Full cut, end of Ghostbusters.
The one fact that I didn't get to fully say earlier, and I need to go back to, is talking about the alley scenes that Melissa McCarthy really wanted. There's one detail I forgot, which is the alley was infested with rats. And the cast did not want to do it. Melissa McCarthy was like, come on, guys, let's do this. And they had to shoot with these fucking rats. I just think that is such a perfect bow to the end of this entire
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Makes a lot of
Hit me
sense.
with it, Andy.
7 syllables in the middle. You'll need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review. Haiku in review.
Haiku. You can go to patreon.com/kindafunny to write your reviews in haiku form, just like Mike L in the chat did. He comes in with this. Bad jokes that don't breathe. Overly saturated with colors and gags. I like that. He has 2 opinions in 1 haiku, getting equal weight. Good for you, Mike L in the chat. I see you in the chat right now. He's there right now. He's saying suffer for your art. That's live. And then we have OK Soda coming in saying, it's true. Hemsworth and McKinnon rule. Put this over too. Okay, Soda, I'm right there with you. I appreciate you very much. Now it's time for a little thing I like to call Ragu Bagu.
Ragu. Bagu.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys, the podcast within a podcast where we rank the villains and ghosts of the Ghostbusters universe. Currently, the list stands at this. Number 1, Gozer and Walter Peck. Number 2, Vigo and Janosch. Number 3, I assume we're putting Rowan, but I will open the floor if you want him higher.
No, that's fine.
It's another
Yeah,
episode of
I
Ragu Bagu in the bag, everybody. Hit the song.
I'm not going to
Andy.
argue it, but I don't think it's like there. I think it's equal to the second one.
Yeah, they're both pretty bad.
Come on.
No,
I would say the one thing that I might put Rowan touch above is I think his plan is a little more creative. It's not just like Vigo was just so generic. Like he's coming out of a painting. Why? At least Rowan is like an active antagonist that's like doing something interesting, and he gets to be inside of Chris Hemsworth, and who of us have never thought about doing that?
I think the idea of Ghostbusters 2 being so like historic is the word I meant to say, is that Vigo and the villains in part 2 feel a lot more established, and they feel like, because I've seen these characters across a lot of different pop culture, so like they just feel more like villains, and this dude is just so forgettable. And that's why I would have this at number 3. And I know you all want to argue back, and this is going to be a tough one, but I'm putting.
I'm sorry, Nick's cracking me up. I see a Slack message from him from like an hour ago. It says, "Next time I get up, please ask the group if we should skip ahead. I'll pretend like I didn't write this. Don't rat me out." I mean, to this question, I mean, now you get into a bit more of how do you define a rad or a bad guy when you're a rad guy? For me personally, like, sure, Rowan's got a plan and he's actually doing things and activating things and running around and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't enjoy the performance, any of his actions, anything like that. So it's like, yeah, Vigo and Janosch are just doing their things, but like, I laughed at Janosch. I enjoyed Janosch's goofiness. Vigo, even though is just a bad guy, he was intimidating as a kid, at least. You know what I mean? Of like this big painting thing that's always looking at you, scaring you, trying to take over this kid's life, stepping out of the painting, being immune to the Ghostbusters weaponry, like whatever.
I think it's more iconic of a thing, but I think a lot of that is because the movie's been around for so long, and
very fair,
we're used
very
to
fair.
seeing
I'm not like, going to the mat ready to kill anybody over this.
I just wish this dude could have been played by like a named celebrity, and I think that would have added more weight to whatever the character is trying to do. Because I thought this dude was going to be one part of multiple of a group of people doing bad shit. And when it kept focusing on him, I was like, oh man, this guy's not great. I was hoping that he was like part of a clan of like people that are doing shit, you know?
Yeah. So it looks like it gets number 3. Congratulations, everybody.
Now it's time to rank the Ghostbusters movies. So far, we have number 1 at number 1 and number 2 at number 2. Like I've said a couple times now, I would put this at number 2 under the first movie. I think the first movie is definitely just it's a classic for good reason. I think it's extremely unique. It is probably, with the exception of something like Star Wars, something that I would say is the most impressive use of a brand new IP I've ever seen. So gotta love that. But I do think that this movie works for me more than Ghostbusters 2 did as a whole.
For me, I would say dead last. Yeah, this is, for me personally, I would even propose putting it at 4, doing that classic trope from the MCU in review where we just put it in the last place and leave 3 open. Again, it's everything we've said, and I know people tried in this movie, and I'm not even saying that in a way like trying to be nice about not liking the movie. I don't like the movie. I don't think the movie works, and I don't think it works. Obviously, as a Ghostbusters fan, I don't think it works as just someone who enjoys watching movies. Like, I just don't enjoy this movie. And again, to Tim's point, like, I'm not gonna, I'm so bent obviously on Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I'm not gonna sit here. I think Ghostbusters 2 is way better of a movie than this, but I'm also cheating because Ghostbusters 2 is the continuation of a movie where the characters you already know. If Ghostbusters 2 was the first installment and you were dropped in, would you understand anything? Would it feel like this movie is? Of like, why is Howitzer so weird? Like, you know what I mean? Why is this like that? And yada, yada, yada. I don't know. You can't say because that's not how it is, but I'd put this at last place.
Vote with Greg on this one too. I would say last place, just because I just don't think there's a lot of redeemable qualities to this movie. I think the humor, if you take it out of context, works, but all these scenes together in a narrative just falls super flat. It's way over bloated with improv. It needed someone to come in and cut like 30 minutes out of it in order to make it rewatchable. Whereas Ghostbusters 2, I'll agree, is not the best movie, and I had my criticisms of it last week, but when it's on, it's watchable. It's entertaining. There are good scenes, and it feels, for the most part, like a Ghostbusters movie, although it does dip into that sort of cartoonishness. This goes full blown absurd, and there's no rules whatsoever to this universe. And it just makes for a very, very unpleasant viewing experience for me. So I put it number 3.
Yeah,
I'm closer.
wait,
sorry.
real
Go
quick,
ahead.
if I can just go because I'm about to get muted.
Mhm.
I think that rewatching the second one after years, I enjoyed it for the most part. Rewatching this, I was really caught off guard by how much I did not enjoy it and how much like it seemed like, oh man, I can't believe this is still going on. Yeah, I just overall the story that has to be there, and I just don't feel like it's there. And the comedy wasn't there too. And like when there's so many jokes being thrown out, it's just amazing that they were able to put together a movie this long that had so few good jokes.
I'm a lot closer to Tim on this. I still don't think I would put it over 2 just because I much prefer a weaker version of Bill Murray and Egon and that crew, the original crew. I'd prefer a weaker version of them as opposed to what we're getting here. And even though I don't think this movie is complete trash, I'm more kind of disappointed in the lost potential. And I do the parts that I did enjoy of it again was there are some decent redeemable moments with comedy, and I think I enjoy more of the modern sensibilities of how they approach making this movie. And I've noticed that with a lot of movies, whenever we go back to watch for the first time, I'm watching a movie made in the 80s and I'm like, well, I part of me kind of likes the newer one better because it's just a modern take on the old classic or whatever. But this one just fell flat in way too many spots for me. But I'm definitely a lot closer to Tim, where I didn't think it was a trash fire. It was just more disappointing.
There you go. The new rankings so far: number 1, Ghostbusters; number 2, Ghostbusters 2; and number 3, Ghostbusters 2016. We're going to return for Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I am extremely, extremely excited about. Hopefully, this one can bring it home. I'm hoping it's number 1 for me. We'll see. We'll see.
Real quick, I want to do
an easy potential.
I want a round robin for everybody else here. So we'll start with Kevin, then go Nick, then go Andy, then go Tim. Everyone, clear your mind. Clear it. Kevin, am I going to cry during Afterlife?
Yes.
Nick?
Yeah.
Andy?
Yeah.
Tim?
I mean, that's the point of the movie, right?
I expect to fucking bawl. I expect to be in a private theater with y'all. ugly crying during
Like
this
Greg,
fucking
I'm gonna cry, and I don't even care that much about this shit. Like,
Look at Ernie.
you're gonna bawl, dude.
Yeah, they know what they're. That's the only reason this movie is being made is to show reverence and love for the franchise in this way, and I think that they're going to absolutely pull that off.
You're gonna cry for like different emotions as well. Like it's gonna be hype, and then you're gonna cry when they make a really heartfelt reference to a past character, and yeah, like that shit's gonna hit hard in many different ways. I think.
Should we record our reactions with a GoPro on a tripod?
We
Like
can.
if it's a private theater, they won't let you.
I said we can. I mean, we should be
Okay.
able to at least. I
Can
don't
we? Can we also do a little round robin here? This is a weird kind of prediction thing, and it may not even work because I don't even know how many reviews will be out. But I like
can
doing the
nod,
prediction. I like doing the open critic, sort of Metacritic. What do we think this is gonna hit?
Oh,
I think it's gonna be like a high 70s.
Yeah,
I,
it's,
I
too.
could see, I could see low 80s.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
I think there's gonna be a
80s.
lot of people that like it because they're traditionalists like us, and there's just gonna be a lot of people that are just like, I don't really have a stake in Ghostbusters, so I'll just view this as a movie, and I think they're gonna be meh on it.
Where's Kristen Wiig? You know,
the
You
question.
know what? Number one comment: could have used more improv in this movie.
I'm sure there's going to be more than enough of it in Ghostbusters Afterlife, but we'll have to find out. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of Ghostbusters 2016 and how excited you are for Ghostbusters Afterlife. Until next time, I love
We
you
ain't
all.
afraid of no ghosts.
go watch Barb and Star. Go to Vista
I'm
Del
watching that.
Mar.